Two, one. All right, welcome to Mediocre Rumble Brothers. I'm Jordan, your host, and the team Corey, Edwin, and Udon. Today we'll be chatting on current gaming topics. But before we start, please be sure to follow us on our Spotify channel and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. It really helps us out with being able to provide you guys with upcoming events or new games or new discussions of what we have in regards to gaming. But let's go ahead and jump around with what we did for the week. Let's start with Corey.
Well, right before this, I was playing Helltaker, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
a little
Helltaker.
Puzzle game. It's kind of fun. Got a little bit of recording of that. I just kind of stumbled across it, but I like the art style. Simple little puzzle. But
I'm kind of surprised you just kind of stumbled across it because I kind of took the weeb-ish side of the internet by storm when it came out, at least in terms of like fan art, because it was just free and it was just a really well-made little free puzzle game with demon waifus.
Yeah, I mean, I might have just like it might have just came and went with like the flurry of nonsense that happens because like I don't typically game on my PC too much, but like I just see like fan art, so maybe I just assumed it was from like Hell of a Boss or something like that because it's like that's kind of another thing that's super popular. So, but I played a little bit of like Kingsfield 2, which I just kind of randomly threw that on because I thought, why not? Because I'm waiting for a PS1 so I can finish playing Parasite Eve. Nudge, nudge. There,
it'll be there Thursday. Give me time. By the time, if I had mailed it the same time I bought it, it basically would have gotten to you probably the same time I did. So
check my mailbox as I pull in after picking it up from the airport. Let's see. So I played some like Kingsfield Ancient City, and I also played Kingsfield 2, and Kingsfield 2 oddly enough had a lot like better like controls than I was expecting. I thought it would be slower, and I don't think it's programmed for analog. I think it's just if you're using an analog controller, it seems to just work because of whatever reasons, but not the right analog stick. That one just does a bunch of crazy shit. The other thing, I'm still at the end of Wukong. I forgot. I got to pick it up and try to finish. I'm at the last boss, and I just kind of set it aside to finish Silent Hill and Visions, and then I forgot it was just chilling. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got to go pick that up again. So the greatest part about Souls-like games when you have a learning curve after not playing it for a while is fight the last boss. So that'll be entertaining. And I did start our game of the month, which happens to be Mario and Luigi's Brothership. And I've put a few hours into it so far. I guess I'll kind of keep some of the thoughts to it, but it's growing on me a little bit. But I don't have like the same like feeling I had when I played like Thousand Year Door or like Mario RPG. But I am playing technically a Mario RPG. Like,
did you play Superstar Saga?
I did. I mean, I played it on like Game Boy, or it was a Game Boy Advance. I still have it. And it's just I don't know what it is. Like the level design and stuff is neat, but without going like too deep into it, like it kind of has like a slow ramp up to, till it starts getting more mechanics to be fun. I guess like the game is pretty fluid and I like the visual style of it. I know that there's current reviews floating around being like very mid or like low tier, but I mean that's why we're all playing through it to see.
Good old IGN gave it a 6, I think.
I think they gave it a 5, honestly.
It was something like terrible. And then Veilguard exists, and that was a 9 apparently. Yeah,
Call of Duty keeps getting 9s and 8s.
Well, I don't know. I feel like there might be some sort of like harsh like approach to Nintendo games anyways, because it's Nintendo and they kind of seem to be like everybody hates them whenever they come after somebody legally and all this other crap, but then like they continuously sell.
A thing, fucking the PAL World situation.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know if it's just being spiteful to a Mario game, but like I'm glad they have these like Mario spin-off things because like I really enjoyed the Mario Rabbids Kingdoms games. Those are like really fun in my opinion, and I'm glad that we kind of get more stuff that's other genre based, I guess, utilizing that universe. And it seems it just lends itself so well to like other genres in general. But I guess outside of that, I've been playing Trinity Trigger. And that's kind of the only thing I've been playing recently on PC. I was getting some recordings of that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I will pass it over to Udon.
I mean, quite frankly, I mean, I haven't been doing too heck of a lot. Aside from, I'm just addicted to Space Marine. Honestly, that's the one thing I want to play when I get home is just play more Space Marine. This operations mode is so replayable, and me and my friends are about a little more than halfway done getting all the missions done on the hardest difficulty, trying to get like this exclusive helmet you get by doing it. And yeah, I honest to God didn't think I was gonna like this game. Like I thought this game was gonna be something that me and my friends picked up for like a month or something, and then like moved on. But it just keeps getting me come back to like the formula is just so easily repeatable and fun. The gameplay is so smooth. The fucking the game loop for a term, I guess, like just how combat works and stuff. The flow of the game is so fucking. It just feels so good. It's just so nice to just have a game that just knows what it is. Like you're a Space Marine, you go fucking fuck some shit up. That's what you're doing. And the way the operations mode goes, it's like the enemy placements are different, the item placements are different. So like replaying the same missions doesn't get old because it changes every time. It's kind of like it's a little bit like Vermintide in that sense. And it's kind of what I wanted when I played Vermintide and Darktide. I was like, man, these games are great and all, but man, I really want this with Space Marines, and I kind of got what I wanted with this. Like this game gave me a lot more than I thought I was gonna get when I bought it. So I've been playing the shit out of that, and I bought Brothership, and I need to start playing it, but I just haven't because I look at it, I'm just like, I'm gonna play Space Marine. I want to play some Space Marine. Aside from Space Marine, something more like casual, I was getting just back into Minecraft just a little bit. But that was just because I wanted something chill, and Ark was pissing me off, so Minecraft's my backup. Let's see. Still been doing the Pokemon Go. Did the Pokemon Go Community Day was today, and I went out and did that and got 7 shiny Mankeys. It was Mankey Community Day, and still playing that Pokemon TCG Pocket. I like it. I mean, it's clean. It's fun. And then Fate Grand Order is having one of its lotto events of the year, which is hardcore grinding. When I'm not playing Space Marine, I'm on that grinding out resources and stuff. Aside from that, I played more of that Farmagia game, played more of that Sonic X Shadow. All that's still really good. I actually have a lot of new games that I need to get through now, but Space Marine keeps taking up my time. I think that's about it, honestly. If I'm not going to sit here and deep think about what else I did, but I think that's about it, honestly. So, what about you, Edwin? What have you been doing?
Well, I finally finished Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. Playing it again, it looks nicer, but it's pretty much just a direct remake. Whereas it's like none of the issues that I had were solved, and so I feel more or less the same about it as the original. It just looks nicer. That's pretty much it. It was like regardless, I was like I still have fun with it, but it's like the first Paper Mario is still my favorite. Besides that, I've just been playing more Zenless Zone Zero. It's been a busy week, so I didn't really I did finish Paper Mario, but I was like already near the end, so I just finished that up real quick. But it was like since I've been busy, while I have been logging into Zenless Zone Zero, it's just to like do the daily stuff. I didn't actually do all that much until yesterday. But I did unlock that brand new character, the one with the scientist with the pink hair.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like near the beginning of the month, so I got super lucky.
Yeah,
but I was already running out of resources, so it's like crap. Now I gotta grind for all this stuff for her to like boost her up to the same level everyone else is, and I was already low on that, so that's pretty much what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of the month.
Welcome to Gacha Gaming.
Yeah, and then besides that, I just started yesterday playing Brothership, and I kind of like it so far, but Corey is right; it is pretty slow. Like I'm already on the second island, and I still have yet to get a hammer, So there's a lot of remembering on where I can use the hammer for like the past 2 or so hours that it took to get to this point, and I still don't have it. So it's a little annoying, but I'm pretty sure one of the reasons IGN like gave it a lower review, or like everyone, the thing that I heard that everyone like
Shitty at their job.
not true, but like one of the things that I heard that everyone bombshells Nintendo games now is because Nintendo is just refusing the idiot journalists with banning them from review copies. So if they want to review it, they actually have to buy it because Nintendo is getting pissy at everyone. So that's the deal with that.
It's not like anyone listens to them anyways.
Yeah, I know. It's just like it's IGN. Who cares? Same thing with Kotaku. So I was like, their opinion is like barely taken unless it's like you don't know shit about the internet. It's like just play it yourself, man. Don't listen to them. You, Jordan?
Just look up someone on YouTube. Just look up a Let's Play with no commentary for the game. Make a judgment make a judgment yourself.
Yeah.
Or just watch our podcast on them.
There you go. That a boy. Get them.
Way to plug the channel.
That's right. You want real stuff, you come to our channel. Anyways, on my side, I only played a couple of games. The first one I was touching was the Sifu game. I hadn't played that in quite some time, and now I remembered why. It's too damn difficult. I'm just not great. And I was making a joke about it, but it's kind of like truthful. Was like, okay, you play on a difficulty, it makes it hard, but when you really suck at the game, it makes it even harder. So it's like a hidden difficulty. That
shocker. When you really suck at a game, it's really hard to play.
Yeah. So it's like timing is everything, and then I'll be like wooshooing it up, be blocking, and that guy will just get that right hook, and then you'll just deck me in the face.
Already a better review.
Yeah, well, it just does a lot of stuff that I can't keep up with, and a lot of the time I'm usually just trying to sideswipe and just trying to find me a spot I can run away from without getting capped or getting smacked or beaten or whatever that involves me not being able to do what I'm supposed to. So that game,
but it's the same. Isn't the main mechanic of that game is the more you lose, the older you get. But because you get older, and you're still like learning kung fu, your attacks are stronger, but you're becoming more frail, so your health gets lower.
Yes, it is. And I don't want to get old. I don't think any of us want to get old.
Said everybody.
But
I don't want to grow up.
But
Toys R Us kids.
Yeah.
No, you got to get to.
Yeah, I ended up getting my ass whooped.
No, you got to get to the retirement so you can play games all day.
Well, we'll see. But I'm literally just I don't know. I was getting to it. I thought I was getting better, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting it. And then eventually I just went right back to sucking again. I was like, okay, I'm done. I need to put this shit away. Something's happening with me. I'm just getting really dumb with how this is all working out. I thought I had it figured out. I guess I don't. So put that aside. And then, I was like, okay, because we usually will have our sessions together where we'll actually like play together and watch each other play games. So I wanted to try something different again. I wanted us to be able to play something. And me and Corey got together and we played the Escape of the Memoirs or something like that, if that's what it was called. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. The escape room game where...
And so
we were just...
It's funny because it's just like, it shouldn't be that difficult if we like put our brains together. And there was just certain things that were just coming out that I was not even figuring out. Like the very beginning, I was like, how the fuck do we get out of here? Corey's just like, why don't you take that brick and smack it over and break this pipe so it lets it go? I'm like, what? And it just falls down, and we use that to grab the key. But how it's set up is it doesn't show me grabbing it with the bar or whatever. It looks like I'm using telekinesis and just pulling it to me. I was like, well, why the fuck do we need the belt if I could just use my mind power? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and then we got through it, and then we were stuck in this one fucking room forever. And we just was just like, even Udon was even saying like, this is making no sense. Why they should have birth dates on these people and all this stuff. Why is everything like vague as shit?
Well, you were like in it was like a World War I-esque like office prison area. Yeah, and well, I don't know. Oh, Gene scene. So like you were trying to solve a puzzle, trying to like get someone's locker unlocked, and you like found this guy had like some message being like, "Oh, my son's birthday is yada yada," and like her 16th birthday's coming up on blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, well, maybe his locker combo is his kid's birthday, but you can't use his 16th birthday. It doesn't make any sense. So I figured that there was like something in the room that like gave you the current year. So like you had his birthday in the current year. So you just had to like use math to like, reverse engineer his birthday. And like, all these official documents don't have fucking dates on them. I'm like,
yeah, that was such a fucking witch hunt because like that was just that it's so obvious that would be something to do.
Yeah.
And so I spent the entire time looking at everything I could to try to see what year it was, and then it turns out that that's not relevant at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
We ended up eventually cheating. I mean, that's what we ended up doing to get the fuck out of there because we were getting
summon the answers.
Summon the answers from the ether. Yeah,
I summon you, Google. Give me the answers.
Throw out a Pokeball.
Even with some of them to figure out like some of the stupid things where it was like, oh my god, okay, I got it. It's like all right, and then I can like I don't need to finish reading the article. It just makes sense. But there's this one spinning lock.
Oh my god.
And it's not like there's no puzzle description on how to really like solve it. It's obvious on how to solve it. It's just like it's like if you found a Rubik's Cube or something that was just mixed up, and they were like, "All right, this next test is to just solve the Rubik's Cube." So I'm like turning this stupid dial until I fucking solve the whole thing.
But it didn't even stop from there. I mean, they had that stupid light thing where you had to move the light bulbs around. I was figuring out that one, like you had a yellow, a red, a blue, and a green, I think it was, that were all scattered throughout, and you had to have them separated, but you had to have them grouped in a group together in a way to where the colors would basically be close enough to give each other power, and then that would turn them on. But if the other color got too close, the light would turn off, and you have like 15 lights like right next to each other, so you have to move them around on this stupid little line to make them work, and that's how you open one locker. And then you had another one that was on a locker that you had to use these stupid little marble balls, and you had to move them around, and you'd have to make one shift, and one would shift all the balls over, because if you move right, it moves everything on the right, on the bottom section, middle, top, whatever, and then down, and you have to get them all in these little holes. And if you fuck up, then of course you got to restart basically. And I was on that for a while. And then Corey, you even had that one with that little light switch one where you had those wires or something that you had to connect, and I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. To be fair, we were playing this because I was very excited about escape rooms, and I found a free-to-play version of one, and it's like, well, this is one of those escape rooms where you just read everything the whole time, and that's not as fun as like finding keys and opening trap doors and like doing something over here, drop something on this side of the room with like a noise. It's just like find all these documents, set them on a table, read a bunch of flavor text, and the only thing that was remotely like interesting was the safe with the dials, because their paints cover them, so you have to figure out where to point the dials, but you use a map to figure out where the dials should be pointing, but you also find a compass that tells you what direction you're actually facing, so you can read the map correctly, and then you can open the safe, and it's like, oh, that's actually a nice little puzzle. But everything else was just like, how the hell was I supposed to know that?
Yeah, like the worst
you just
communication
told me everybody's
ever.
Like, yeah, everybody's employee ID is their code, or at least this document says that, but that's not the case for everybody. And it's, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it was a nice time waster because we think we were stuck in that damn room for 2 hours.
I don't know. There was no time limit, but it did feel like an eternity. I would definitely be, if it was a real life scenario, I probably would be ripping things. I'd probably be trying to tear the doors off at this point. Like,
start breaking shit till an employee comes out. It's like, what are you doing?
Like, ha!
It's like, your thing is bullshit.
Yeah, no, that was the idea. Get the fuck out of my way.
I think the other downfall of that game was that there's like maybe 20 drawers that you can open, but nothing is in most of them. So it's just kind of like, you could have just, I mean, I get that I'm going to open a drawer and not find anything, but like the most interactable thing in the game was the desks, and there's only, I think, one desk that has a lock on it, and then when you open other desks, there's just like non-interactable objects inside, and it's just kind of, you could have put like a puzzle box or something that I found one and got it out of there or something. Like, I don't know, because I mean, after doing like actual escape rooms and stuff, it's just like I was kind of hoping to see more of that, but you know, it's a free to play. I'm not going to hold them to like the fire, but you know, it was kind of just
free to play for the one level. Then it's $8
Yeah, free to play. Yeah,
after that.
and it to be fair, we were trying to do this escape room, and for me, it was probably like 1:30 in the morning, and I'm just like, I cannot concentrate.
But
Excuses.
It was on computer, not VR.
Huh?
Was it VR or computer?
No, it was on computer.
Okay.
It wasn't like that one that we did before. We like it. I don't know. I think the one that we did when we went to that Game Symphony, and then after that we went to do that escape room out there in Greensboro. That one was kind of fun. But man, we were all tired. It was like 11:45 or whatever, and like we woke up early to drive out there, and it was just like, use the dates on all of the families' like portraits and add them together or whatever to figure out. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do math right now. I want to fucking sleep.
Yeah, what that escape room took so long is that we had like 50 seconds left.
Yeah, that was pretty clutch.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and jump in with the first question for everybody. I kind of was having this on my head, which was so with the release of newer versions like the PS5, the PS5 Pro, do you guys think it's necessary for this mid-generation upgrade to be happening? Or do you think that they should have waited until they actually push out a brand new console? Do you think it's really necessary for this, like, basically in between of a new console?
I don't.
Or what? The PS5?
Yeah, so like instead of being a PS5 Pro, they could have just wait until PS6, but they want to put out a PS5 Pro. Do you think it's necessary for them to do that?
It's a substantial upgrade. I'm all for it because between my Nintendo DS and like my new 3DS XL, there's a huge difference in like power that can do. I mean, you might as well call that a new console, I guess, because it's a 3DS as compared to an old DS. But even a regular 3DS, when compared to the new 3DS XL, there's a huge difference in like power and like the display and stuff like that. Whereas from what I've seen of the fucking PS5 to the PS5 Pro, it is so negligible. Like it might I'm like, if you're gonna bother to like make another console, just make the upgrade substantial. You gotta really see a difference. Like it has to be almost like, all right, we have 60 FPS consistently in even games like Cyberpunk. It's like all the high-end games are all 60 FPS now or whatever.
To be fair, I think that every console, or I don't know about every, but it's not uncommon for like a more efficient version of a console, but that's usually late life, and it hasn't usually been similar to what they're trying to do now. Like PlayStation 1 has the PSX. Xbox never had like another Xbox. It was just Xbox.
When they came out with it, because we have the Xbox Series S and X. Like it was up front.
Well, I'm thinking like more older consoles. Like Xbox, I think really did like an actual update or upgrade one when they did the Elites. I think the Elites were supposed to be like, it wasn't just a hard drive upgrade. I think they were supposed to be better or something like that. PS3s had the PS3 Slim, but and like I've kind of ended up with these like because there isn't like a different GameCube. It's just GameCube. But
so do you guys think that this in between console that they're making? Do you think that this is possibly a way of them getting on their way to developing a new console, and they're trying to figure out how to do it? So therefore, they came across some new technology, and they're going to use that to just give you like a filler until they can figure out a real way to actually truly upgrade the consoles.
No, I think it's Sony it's like I just think it's Sony found an excuse to make another PS5 and they just went with it.
Yeah, they've been very greedy lately. Like there's like the person who would be doing that would be Nintendo, because that's what they did with the Wii U.
Well, yeah, the Wii U was such a weird console that kind of just like shadow dropped out of nowhere. Like I didn't really see any ads for it at all. And maybe there's somebody out there who's like, "What are you talking about? I saw ads all the time." But it's like I didn't even know this thing even existed. I randomly came across it on launch day, 2 weeks before I moved away from Alaska. But like for the PS5, the PS5 launched in 2020, right? Because it was like impossible to get one because you had to get everything by mail since everything was like locked down or whatever.
Oh yeah. It was so hard to get for the longest time.
It's only a 4-year-old console, and for it, like I feel basically what the Pro is to me is just a investor-driven push to get more sales of like console units. because a lot of people already have PS5s, and it's like, well, how do I sell you a unit if you already have the unit? And getting a different color one isn't necessarily going to be that big of a purchase. Granted, Nintendo would think otherwise because they do that shit all the time, but that's its own thing, and they're all themed off of like every time Pokemon comes out, I think they release like a Pokemon themed Switch. But
remember they came out with the PS5 Pro, and they also came out with like, because it was the anniversary. It's like we have a PS5 Pro and we have the PS5 Pro with the original PlayStation colors.
Yeah, but Nintendo consoles don't cost $700 fucking dollars.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no justification for that. Of course, I'm just thinking that like they're doing it because they're just like middle of the road. They're probably 3 years out from having a major console release of like a 6. Because like the PS5 is really fucking powerful, and the PS4 Pro, I only ended up with one because my PS4 was getting smoked by God of War 2018, and like it sounded like a jet plane. Yeah, and Dragon Quest kept crashing my system every time I played it. Specifically, the same cutscene in very early game when the bridge collapsed. I don't know what it was, but it was every single time.
Yeah, and my PS4 fucking sounded like a jet engine when I tried to play Fate. Fate. God damn it, Fate Umbral Star or whatever, like the Dynasty Warriors clone. It did not like that game at all.
Well, so like the Pro for that, like I got it because I needed this upgrade. Like it was noticeably like fucking up my old PlayStation 4 or my old PS4. I don't even know where that PS4 even is. I just have. Oh, I might have traded it in to get the new one, but anyways, Nintendo, they did the OLED, and I got the OLED. Now it's not necessarily it's a nicer screen, a little bigger screen.
It's an upgrade to the portableness of it. Otherwise, there's like no.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have gotten one, but I got it because my friend during COVID sold his Wii and stuff, and he didn't have anything. So I knew I was getting the OLED, but I'm like, I don't need 2 Switches. So I sent him my old Switch so that he could have his Switch back again, because he was just trying to clear bills. And so like I've kind of only ever gotten a Pro because of a situation that kind of called for it, rather than like, oh, it's such a cool upgrade. Like I've never really needed it for like such a cool upgrade. It's just usually because the other thing is like I don't need it, I guess. The PS4 Pro or the PS4 is the one that was dying. But
so since you brought up Nintendo Switch 2, that was kind of my next thing I was going to ask was, so the Nintendo Switch 2, is being speculated possibly to come out in 2025. If it does, what do you guys think are the features and improvements that need to be done that's going to be critical for it to remain competitive against other consoles out there?
A stronger system entirely.
That's the biggest thing, is that it needs to be at least as powerful as like at least a PS4 or something that. The power needs to be upgraded, man. It can't stay like this.
If any of the leaks are true, they're still going to do an LCD screen and not an OLED on the initial release. But they have confirmed backwards compatibility with Switch. So
which I feel like should have been a foregone conclusion anyways. I don't know why that was even something people were thinking about.
Well, I know that that's like a huge thing, I guess, for like PlayStation users, or like, because they were just harping on PS5, like, you better be backwards compatible with PS4. And then they're like, it took them for a while before they even said yes. But Switch backwards compatibility, obviously that's pretty necessary. If it's backwards compatible, you can already assume that it's going to operate in the same function of a regular Switch, where I slide the things off the side and play motion controls. So I think it's just going to be faster hard drive, more RAM, better graphics card. And I mean, the real thing is they got to compete with handheld PCs now. Like the ROG Ally is basically like holding a pretty hefty graphics card in your hand. But to be fair, Nintendo, like, they just make Nintendo games. They do have a good partnership though with third party. Unfortunately, that's Ubisoft. And from what I was reading, they're trying to bring like the Driver series back or something like that, which is very random out of left field to pick Driver. That game is so damn hard. But like we've seen third party partnerships with Nintendo in the past on the Wii, and that gave us Mass Effect on the Wii. And I don't know how many people played or prefer to play it that way. But
it's funny, right? Because I don't know what the issue is. I told you that I've talked about the game a little bit, but Warhammer 40K has a game called Bolt Gun, which is basically their boomer shooter, and there's no 3D models in that game. If there are, they're very basic. It's mainly just pixelated 2D graphics, like it's old stuff, because it's old style Doom. That's what they're going for. Mm-hmm. And according to Tim, who bought it on the Switch, it runs like ass. And I'm like, how? How does it run like crap on the Switch? It's pixels. It's 2D
not like
planes.
It's Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch, because
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, how the fuck does it run like ass? And I think it's just because no one outside of Nintendo knows how to use their fucking half the people in Nintendo can't use their software. Hi, Pokemon Company. All right, we're all right. We got that out of the way.
I'm sure that's gonna come.
Yeah, but like, I mean, because the Switch can do stuff. Breath of the Wild, fucking Tears of the Kingdom, fantastic. Even hell, Mario and Luigi Brothership looks great. It's running on Unreal.
Yeah, that actually blew me away when I was like, oh, this is an Unreal game? That's kind of, okay, you packed a pretty hefty engine in here.
It's possible. They just, no one besides Nintendo knows how to use their software.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, if they want more, I'm not really sure why they would want more, but if they want, like, a more... or I guess better standing with the other consoles, which they don't really have to, but assuming that they want more third-party games, you're going to have to bump up the software, because obviously the very first thing that a lot of people are going to be testing out on the Switch 2 is Scarlet and Violet to see how the game is actually supposed to fucking look like.
I don't think that's going to help, though.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, that thing's issue is just poor optimization.
I don't even know if it's poor optimization. Like, even if you got it on a better console, I think it's literally just the asset creation. I think they were just lazy on the art direction for it, and so you're gonna just see it, but faster.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like shit in 60 FPS now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they want more third-party games, like the same games, like they fucking put Borderlands on that shit. It was probably the thing that saved the way it looked and the blurriness and all that is because of the art style for it. But if they want more third-party games that are going on PlayStation and Xbox, they need a stronger hardware. Because I've noticed when I first started playing Brothership, it was lagging just a little bit in very small parts of it. And I was like, it can't even handle this. What's wrong with that? But the whole reason that I even bought the OLED is because I had the day one Switch and I just traded in and only paid $100 for the upgrade. And then I was like, it's substantial for me because mine was the very basic day one Switch. So this was a huge upgrade.
Well, the thing is, OLED isn't any more powerful though. It just has a longer battery life and better screen.
I mean, I looked it up. So it's I looked up the specific things. So it's just it runs a little bit better. I mean, it looks better because of the OLED, but that's just the screen part. But it's it's the same thing for the PlayStation Pro. You need a substantial upgrade for that. Because the reason that I even bought it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons I really needed a PS5 is because my limited edition Kingdom Hearts PS4 Pro was just dying for no apparent reason. Dude, I treated you so well. Why are you dying on me? It was within the 2 years that I had it. I was very sad about it, but it has a really neat design, so I'm not getting rid of that just because it's not working. It's going to be a shelf piece for now, but the PS5 Pro is that's definitely a waste of money, especially when it doesn't even come with the external drive. Yeah, it's just a greedy market.
Just drive, no vertical stand.
Well, I
aim with the PS5.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to sell it to me when I went to go pick up Brothership, and I'm like, bro, I'm not buying this. My entire library is physical, and I'm paying extra to have this disc drive.
So
a friend of mine bought it, but he hasn't really told me all that much about how it's going so far.
As far as the PlayStation goes, and then I'll jump over to Switch 2 real quick, but the PlayStation thing, what they really need to do, or at least pro consoles in general, is I need to be able to play performance and quality at the same time. We need to get to a point where I don't have to choose. And that's when the console is strong enough. The Switch 2, it doesn't have to be like a PS5 or PS6 or whatever. They're not even competing with consoles anymore because they're over there playing in the sandbox while everybody else is like fighting or whatever, kicking sand in each other's face.
Yeah.
Like the PlayStation is going to have its first party games and stuff like that. And the only thing that's good about the partnership of third party with Nintendo is that like maybe you get Splinter Cell and you can take it on the go, but I've never wanted to play it on like the bus or something, you know. And I have an OLED Switch, but I always play it docked. So I don't utilize the benefit of the screen. One, I think they kind of missed the opportunity, even though it's a white OLED, that they didn't theme it off of Metroid Dread, but both of those things came out at the same time. I think they might have moved more consoles if it was a Metroid Dread themed OLED with like maybe Samus's helmet embezzled on the back of it or whatever. But I think that what Switch 2 needs is a better dock station that actually does kind of
Well, that was actually in the design docs for the original Switch. Like that was what the dock was supposed to be. Was like a thing that like had extra hardware in it. So when you plugged it in, it was actually like a noticeable performance increase.
Yeah, but now it's just the HDMI out, and you know it's like the dock is just this cheap piece of plastic, right? And like that's fine, but like I'm hoping, like I know we have external graphics cards that you can run into laptops. And so I'm kind of hoping that the dock for the Switch 2 has some heft to it and does kind of amp performance so that like what I'm seeing on the screen handheld is like, you know, the optimized version of the game. But when I put it down, then I get like the powerhouse version, of course. But like running intense games mobile is going to destroy their batteries. So their battery life needs to be pretty beefy and not 2.5 hours running Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And they're also going to need a pretty strong lineup of games, I think.
They got Metroid Prime 4.
Well, they got Metroid Prime 4, which I do think is running on the Switch too, because that video is so clean. Like, I'm like, no fucking way this is on the Switch. And the weird part is I think they're going to do that stupid, and it's whatever, but like, here's the Switch version and then the Switch 2 version. I don't know what the Switch 2 is actually going to be called. I'm going to guess it's going to be a holiday release for next year. But,
I think it would be. I really think it's probably going to be around the same time they released Pokemon Legends ZA. I think it'd just be silly. That game alone would sell the console if anyone was on the fence.
Oh, for sure. They need like that Pokemon game and Metroid need to be the launch titles to move that thing. I mean, people are going to buy it regardless. I think it's going to sell very well.
Oh yeah,
will it sell as well as the Switch?
It's going to be an actual hardware upgrade. Yeah, will it sell as well as the Switch? Probably not, because a lot of people will be like, well, I have my Switch, you know, and if it's... but there still will be the factor, you know, it's I can't play Pokemon Sun and Moon on a regular DS. I have to have a 3DS in order to play it, so they need their games in order to move the console.
Yeah, yeah, and when they do stuff like that, like I remember when the Wii came out, they had Twilight Princess on GameCube and on Wii. Turns out the GameCube one is pretty rare. I think it's a pretty expensive version of the game. It. Yeah, you know, and that's fine, but I think they need to have console exclusives if you're going to move a console. So, you know, put that new Pokemon, that new Metroid. Don't make a Switch 1 version of them, because the only thing people are going to see is how bad it is. Like, because you have an opportunity for people to talk bad about your product, because they're like, oh, Metroid Prime, like, that sucks. And then people are just going to see that sucks because everything is so reactionary with just headlines and not realize that like they're talking about the Switch version, not the Switch 2 version. Yeah. So people are just going to get it in their head that, like, oh, the game underperforms, but it's like not the one that you bought. This is the one that they bought that's doing so bad.
That's literally what happened with Cyberpunk. It was like everyone kept looking at the last generation one rather than the current one.
Well,
the
even the current one was still like, the current gen one still ran like crap. It was just because
unequipping my weapons,
never had that kind of shit on my
naked.
Screen.
Okay, so I guess my other question I had for everybody was, so cloud gaming is kind of a fear to me. It's still there. And I'm just trying to think about, say, for instance, let's take you back. You had yourself the VHS tape, then you got yourself the DVD. Now you're just streaming. Do you guys think that there is a possibility in the future where it is nothing but streaming? I know that they did the thing with Stadia and it was horrible, but possibly in the future that it will actually eventually become like an Apple TV deal? And if so, how many years down the line do you think we see that coming?
I think,
Well,
unfortunately, yes, that is the direction they're going to try to steer everything, especially with this Pro launching without a disk drive, banking on digital libraries. But our internet infrastructure is not there. Not yet, at least.
yeah, because
that's the
each
thing.
PlayStation and Xbox have their own versions of their like streaming services, and I've tried the PlayStation's version, and I hate it so goddamn much. There's so much fucking and I have decent internet. Like, there's so much
Yeah.
input lag when you're streaming games. Some of my friends who do the like Xbox remote play or whatever say it's not so bad, but I notice it really bad. It's the same reason I can't play Smash Brothers online, like in any like competitive sense, because there's too much fucking input lag, and I can't deal with it. It just makes gaming feel terrible.
I don't know what it was called, but it's not like a new idea. Because like I don't think it was GameFly. I know GameFly exists, but there was like a video game service in the early 2000s where they were trying to do streamable gaming, where you would like in one of the games I tried it. I think I was playing Tomb Raider 3 or something like that, or maybe the fourth one, and like it just like obviously the internet in like the early 2000s, like you had cable internet, but it wasn't as good as it is today. Obviously, like everything gets better and better and better over time, technology wise. But like they didn't have it down then, but the idea existed. And you know, as much as I would encourage things like Stadia to come out because it kind of like drives innovation in like games and stuff, because it's like, oh, here's a new competitor that could scare people into like trying more. But when they said what they were doing, I was like, oh, okay, that's stupid. You're trying to be your own like game like system rather than being a publisher. Like they could have just been basically like Steam and let other companies go in there rather than kind of like isolate to their own like library of stuff. I think that's another thing is like people don't want to adopt a fourth game thing like library, I guess, but I think that's kind of what hurt Stadia, but also that it was a freaking joke. And you can't really sell a game when you promise all of this stuff and then you deliver maybe like 5 titles, and they were games that like we beat 4 years ago. Because they're like, Final Fantasy 15 is coming to Stadium. It's like, I beat that already. Like, I beat that a while back.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a selling point. You know, that's I can go buy. Why would I ever buy that game on your system when I can go to like the local like retro store and pick it up for like $15? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not buying that old ass game brand new on your system. You know, but cloud-based gaming, it's unfortunate that it's probably going to be like the mainline thing where people don't have physical media. And
Well, I mean-
the thing that makes me nervous about that is that incident that just happened with Apex Legends in Linux. Because Linux's thing wasn't participating properly with their anti-cheat systems, so they just banned Linux users from Apex Legends, which people spent thousands of dollars on skins and add-on content, and they just can't play it anymore.
I mean, we've already seen, you know, clearly the game industry is moving towards like all of them would want everything to be digital only because it means more money for them in the long run. I mean,
Yeah.
again, we're already seeing it with PS5 Pro. I mean, I wouldn't even doubt that the PS6 now has a strong possibility just to be completely digital only or something like that, or just continue this thing where like if you want to have your disk drive, you have to purchase it separately, sort of thing.
Well, eventually, it's just going to be
Because
monthly subscriptions, right?
Because I mean, like I said, I've said it like 2 or 3 times now, but originally they like digital only was a very big thing that was on the table when they were originally designing the Switch. So I mean, there's a possibility they might go that direction. You know, it's kind of funny because we consider Nintendo to kind of be the holdouts in terms of, you know, completely physical media, but they were thinking about it when they had the Switch originally. So it's also a possibility they could be thinking about the same thing with the Switch too. Probably won't because, like we said, as they already confirmed, it's going to be backwards compatible with the Switch games. So obviously it's going to have that card slot, but it's going to be something that's going to be on their minds going forward. Maybe whatever happens after the Switch 2. So
Yeah, well, I
Literally, the entire Kingdom Hearts series is cloud only for Switch. I forgot about that.
Well, I think a weird thing too that like maybe Switch 2 will kind of elaborate on it more, but the Tears of the Kingdom game was considered a premium cartridge, and I don't really know exactly what that means in terms of like maybe it's a better memory or something that's on the cartridge so that the game performs better, but it's literally a different piece of physical.
Well, those SD carts, they look the same, but depending on like what it is, they hold different amounts of information. So it could be possible that those SD cards they printed that game on just had higher memory value on it, and so therefore was more expensive. Therefore, they upcharged the $70 on
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom because they kind of one of the things that people didn't like what they did with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is that in order to print it on SD cards with lower memory, they basically made it to where all the music for the game was in the first day one update patch. So if you don't update the game, you get like basic bitch sound effects in the game, not the actual like real music.
Good old day
So-
one patches.
Yeah, so like that was why they did that, to be able to print those on like cartridges of lower memory because it was cheaper. So
It's incredibly specific. It's really
Yeah.
weird.
Well, I know that brought up the topic because basically I was reminded of it from the whole 4K DVD, you know, being that there's a widespread of new ways of being able to hear audio and being able to see all these different special effects in a more detailed feature, but now it being wiped away from us completely, basically, and being put into just streaming service because at least in my area, I don't know exactly if it's widespread, but for Best Buy, they were taking out all of their DVDs out of exclusively because they found no reason to have those held because it's all going to be digital. So they were going to wipe their shelves clean of that. And that was kind of bringing up the fear to me that possibly in the future that they're going to do the same thing with video games and make it only exclusive to just digital.
yeah,
Bro,
we will see that future eventually. It's just when we get there is the question.
Well,
and
that-
how much.
Well, that was the thing for me too, right? Was that streaming thing is making some sort of money, of course, because you're paying a monthly pay to have a subscription. Now, that being with the consoles feature, they would mean that if they did everything specifically just streaming, that would be kind of defeating the purpose of them trying to sell all these consoles and selling out all these different features for, controllers and all this stuff for video games, exclusive specials and all that stuff. I mean, they could do that digitally, but I kind of feel like a lot of people would have a lot more still drive to keep things going as a physical rather than being just digital, up until the point where we literally have the most fastest internet to where you cannot see any lag or anything whatsoever. It's just pure, just clear clarity.
Yeah. I mean, basically, all's the PlayStation. Like, if we were to crystal ball it and look deep in the future, like PlayStation might just be an app on your TV, and the only thing they sell you is like a controller that's designed by them to experience their products, and then you just play the games through the TV, and you have a subscription service. It's like $45 a month or some crap, and then there is no more physical media, and you're just paying that premium to play titles. With no ads, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's unfortunately where we're going. And like, I would encourage buying physical media. Like, it probably would benefit me to buy the entire box set of The Office because I've watched it like a million times, and it's like I only watch Peacock because that's where it is. Or like, but if they pull it, like, what do I do? Go find the next streaming service and give them money for like 2 years straight so I can watch it over and over again? You buy it and then you have it, but people don't necessarily have a lot of room for stuff.
Right, you're putting everything in the hands of the person that owns the product. You don't own it. You're basically just borrowing it.
Yeah, you're borrowing anything until they pull it off of whatever it is. Like, God forbid somebody's contract gets fucked and they're an actor on something, so they're like, all right, we can't show this show anymore because dipshit number 3's payment got all weird, and so we have to pull it off the shelf. And so now nobody gets to watch the show because an actor got grumpy, and it's like, well, I like the show and I didn't get to finish it, and there's no DVD of it anywhere, and I can never finish the show. I mean, that's kind of the most first world problem, but I mean, let's face it, we're talking about buying.
We're talking
video
about
games.
hobbies here.
Yeah, so but the thing that's weird, I think once we basically whatever the hell GameStop is going to be preparing for is what we'll know is coming, because their entire business model is not selling all that ThinkGeek shit that's piled in between me and the cash register.
It kind of is. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they get more money from all that crap
but
than
like
games now.
I like, how much money are they actually making on pop sales? Like, I know that pops are pretty popular, goddammit, but I said it. Gunshot. But like, t-shirt sales, toys, merch, like, that's just a hobby store, but those stores never last that long if you don't get a lot of foot traffic. And already, like, it's like, especially the GameStop where I'm at, like I have to drive all the way to where Five Guys and Verizon is, and that parking lot sucks. It's at a terrible intersection, and it's just kind of like, if they are selling, anytime I've ever been there, it's either I'm the only one in the store, or there's like one like person that's trying to trade in something so they can get a quick $20, and it's and it's like, this store definitely would not survive if they were no longer selling video games. And I don't think they have the ability to, flip retro games like the local retro stores, because they're just they already have established a strong clientele, and they also aren't just retro stores, but they do like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments and stuff like that. So, and that's kind of like, I guess like buy and sell retro stores are mostly card tournament locations anyways. I don't think I've been to a game store that buys and sells retro that's only that, outside of like maybe RU Game in Tampa. And even Cybertron has like a bunch of crazy shit outside of video games, but they also repair consoles and they sell mods, like modded carts. Like I have a Pokemon 64 game that's like Pokemon Darkness or something like that, or whatever, like fan-made game that runs on a 64.
No, that's good. I mean, so and I had another one here that I kind of think I wanted to just get everybody's idea on this. So, taking you back, where games were $49.99, they've bumped up to $59.99, $69.99. Do you guys think that, of course, the prices are going to be eventually? Do you think it will keep jumping? And if so, does this seem to be justifiable for the developing team that are saying that this is because of developing costs and that's why they're bringing up the cost, or they're just flat out being just greedy?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I feel like this is what's going to happen. They're going to release PlayStation 6, and FIFA is going to come out. It'll be PlayStation 6. It'll be FIFA 2028 or whatever, and they're going to sell it for $89.99. And that game is going to sell millions of copies, and then people are going to point fingers going, see, we can do that, and then everybody will do it. Because that's kind of what happened with the $70 thing. It's like the initial like launch of FIFA came out. That was, I think, the first $70 game on this generation of consoles, and then it sold like crazy, and people were like, I guess they're not scared about spending an extra 10. It's like, no, son of a bitch.
It's
FIFA, just go free to play and get the hell off of the shelf.
It's a slow burn thing, because it's like, a lot of people can put our foot down and be like, well, I'm not paying $70 for this, but then it's like,
and you get digital.
I really want to play the new Zelda though. So like, I guess I'll shell out an extra $10. Yeah. I mean, they've already been bleeding us like pigs for years, a la mobile gaming microtransactions. It's just an evolution. It's this next evolution of just prices going up. I don't know. I don't really feel like the prices are justified, but then again, we haven't seen the complete transition yet, and I feel like people are already bitching enough to like push back on the whole $70 price tag.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to push like $89.99. I'll just use that number for an example. So it's going to be hard to sell a game like that when, let's say, we're in the circumstances of like a digital-only console that's coming out. So now you have a digital-only console with no physical media that's coming out, so no shipping costs, no manufacturing costs, no like fuel costs for transportation. Which would go into shipping costs, of course. But so it's like the game is literally cheaper to get it to my hands, but they're still going to charge me $89.99. So it's like, how would they justify that price increase? They're like, the development time frame is heavy.
Concord money back.
Yeah, for real.
But do you think that them raising the prices on these games is also kind of like a shooting themselves in the foot scenario? What I mean specifically is that usually when they're making these games, they have to break even, right? Because of cost of all the people, the developers, everything to get done. Right, well, yeah. So raising the cost of a game, people will be a lot more scared to buy because, of course, the higher the investment to be able to play the game. Do you think that also might contribute to a base failure for these companies to do better, because of course now there's less people wanting to pay that extra $10?
Well, there's always a bubble that can be burst, because as we saw with like the loot box fiasco, like EA pushed a little bit too hard, and now we don't see loot boxes anymore. Granted, it didn't destroy microtransactions. Yeah, thanks, by the way. We ruined Overwatch. But like fucking you don't see, obviously there's microtransactions. We didn't just solve microtransactions the problem, but it went the loot boxes, I guess, stepped on just too many people's feet with the fucking Star Wars bullshit. So that they, like, all the gaming companies collectively decided, okay, we're not doing loot boxes anymore. How else can we gouge them for money?
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like it's like a Hydra that we have to fight collectively, but it's every time we kill a head, there's just going to be another one and another one and another one and another one. It's just not going to end.
I mean, the thing with high prices is just like you always have to like debate, like jokingly. It's like, do you want to eat or do you want to play the latest thing? But it's like,
ramen or steak.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It can, like, theoretically become so expensive that the sales just aren't justifying the price tags because people just aren't willing to pay. Let's just say, like, in this horrible future, a new video game costs $100, and we're still in, like, the same economical range we are now. Like, $100 is quite a chunk of change for a lot of people. And most people aren't going to play that because they're just like, I'm just going to go back to playing, Super Mario. Fuck this shit.
To be fair too, I think 64 games were like $70, which is kind of wild too. But
yeah, the retro game market is completely out of like control at this point when it comes to like rarer titles.
Well, even when they were new, titles. I think new 64 games were like $69.99 or something like that. But
I actually
or maybe $64.99. I don't know if they were trying to sell for the same price. I know that they were in the 60s or something like that, but. I think PlayStation has a really weird situation that they've put themselves in too, because if they're going to push for all digital, and they're going to end up raising their prices, but they also release collaborations on PC, so they have ports of their day one versions. If they go all digital, they're competing against my gaming PC that people have, and if you're going to go all digital, they're just going to wait for the PC port. Why would they ever buy your console unless they actually really want to play that game day one? I know their ports are notoriously bad, but they might end up having to just be their own, basically, Steam app on computers.
And quite frankly, I honestly didn't think about that like that until you just said it. Yeah, at that point, if you made a digital-only console, what realistically is the difference outside of like exclusives you make for the console between that and just buying a good game?
They'll have to stop doing PC ports of their products, because it's like, if you're going to PC port this, why would I ever buy your console? I'll just wait till you put it on Steam, because I'm not going to lose sleep over not being able to play God of War immediately, God of War 17 or whatever you're on now. But, and that's why Nintendo is kind of doing their own thing with their Switch too. It's like, I'm not really concerned about whatever. Nintendo will just be around. Xbox, I would almost expect Xbox to go the route of being a Steam product where they just focus on the Game Pass that's on your computer. And then they sell you a device that you can basically remote play from your computer instead of an actual console. Like, they don't need to do a console. They're already...
Because the thing is, it's just like, what would you rather do? Would you actually risk spending $89.99 on a single game? It was like, you've seen the reviews, you've done everything, and then somehow it still sucks. Or would you pay, I'm assuming at that point, something like Xbox Game Pass would be like, $45.99 a month. It was like, to play all these games. It was like, so I paid half the price. I'm on a monthly subscription, but now I could just play whatever the hell I want and not risk spending $89.99 on a single game that might suck. I was like, this game sucks. I'm going to play something else because I'm already paying monthly. I was like, why would I ever pay for a single game again? I was like, I'll just wait for a Game Pass or something, or subscription from one of the companies to actually like play all their games at once and see and pick out whatever I want and just play it for like a month at a time. Just a new one every month.
That's kind of why I liked... there's this store called Play and Trade, which is like GameStop, and you can try before you buy. So, like, that's really crazy that they would just... it's a brand new game. You'd be like, hey, let me sit here and play this for an hour to see if I want to actually buy the whole thing. Because, like, demos kind of...
GameStop, they got so fucking pissed. It was like, he's just trying out games. Like, bitch, why are you yelling at me? I'm just a kid. I was like, I'm trying
just
to figure out how to play.
What you said I could do. But, like, the thing that's crazy is, like, you just, like, see you guys tomorrow. And you ride your bike off and then come back. But, like, because demos don't exist for the most part. I mean, I've started seeing more and more demos kind of showing up, which is kind of nice. But, oddly enough, a lot of those demos are indie devs. And I think if the games industry is not paying attention, they're not paying attention. And if they do sell games for $89.99 that are digital only, well... This indie developer I've been following on Twitter just finally released their game after 3 years, and it's $15. And it's just as, with the resources that people have now, it might not have AAA visuals, but that's not a problem when the game's fun as shit. And so you're going to be competing against that.
So with that, with everything being that we were saying in the future that there's a possibility everything will be streamed, right? We're now seeing that there is a kind of a step forward to everything being mobile. You have yourself your phones that are getting more and more powerful, so therefore everybody's wanting to play on their phones. You have yourself the Switch that is going to be soon, the Switch 2 possibly, that is already going to make itself like a hybrid where it could be a console / on the go kind of thing. And now you've seen the birth of the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally. Do you feel that Sony and Microsoft might be following the same thing that they're going to be trying to do with the Switch? Because again, it was a horrible decision, but you saw that PlayStation tried to do something of that sort, but it was that stupid little Wi-Fi handheld thing that they tried to do. Do you think PlayStation and Xbox, do you think that they might soon start following what they're doing?
Xbox, no. PlayStation, maybe, because Xbox knew from day one they can't compete with Nintendo in terms of like portability, so they just gave up trying. They wouldn't
put
even
Game
dare
Pass on
jump in that
everything.
ring. Yeah, it's like their strategy would just be, hey, can we put Game Pass on Switch? That would be what they would want to do.
I know.
They
I
wouldn't
think
want
they
to
were
be
in
part
talks of that too. They like Microsoft and Nintendo have been talking about some sort of partnership. And
I mean, quite frankly,
that it would be Xbox games on Switch through Game Pass.
Well, quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox is seriously considering just like not making consoles anymore and jumping into Game Pass, like just being like a publisher essentially,
doing what Sega did.
Yeah, pretty much. Because honestly,
that's exactly what Sega did. They were trying and they said, "Fuck it, okay, fine. Sonic's on your console. You happy now?" And they're like, "Very much."
Yeah, very much.
Does he want to compete in the Olympics? They're like,
I mean,
okay, fine. We'll make that stupid game too.
Yeah, I mean, fucking
all the
Xbox isn't in like the same dire straits that Sega was in at that point. I mean, granted, Xbox still probably is the least popular of the big three, honestly. I mean, I only play it because that's what my friends play. Honestly, if I'm not playing it, I'm usually on my Switch or my PlayStation.
It was such a juggernaut in the 360 days.
360 was great. I mean, quite frankly, the only reason I've been playing it more often lately is because that's the one I bought Space Marine on, and I'm just being like, but I could have bought Space Marine on other consoles. I just bought it on Xbox because my friends would play it on Xbox, you know. But which, by the way, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. If y'all want to buy Space Marine on PlayStation, it is crossplay, so you know that would be a fun game to play.
I'll be right back.
I'm serious. Y'all would actually like if you like Gears of War, you'll like Space Marine.
Yeah, I like seriously. Jump on that shit right now.
Yeah, end the show.
But the point that I wanted to make is like I'm not really sure why like Xbox even considered making a console when it was like, you fucking have Windows. Just take over the PC market if you want.
They can't because Steam exists. They just can't.
Well, I know. It's like that was their fault for not doing it sooner. But I mean, they have like if they could invest as like on the Xbox investment, so like on just like the games and then like PC and or mobile, I guess. Then it was like maybe they'd have a better chance because the console is like more or less irrelevant if they're just putting Game Pass on everything because they're trying to sell that like hotcakes. That's what they're trying to do. But it's like if everything runs on cloud, then like rather than whatever specifications your system has, now it's going to see was like what is the absolute bare minimum we can cloud this like $400 million game into someone's phone or TV or some other shit. Then it's like, can you play this game on a PS4? It's like, this is made for a PS6. I don't know what you're thinking. But it's like how well can this game run on like the worst internet in the country? Otherwise, you're just gonna have like Xbox, Sony, and then Nintendo cell phone towers specifically just to stream their games to people. It'd be kind of funny to see that. So
I want to just, maybe it's random here, but I want to just see what you guys' thoughts was on this one specifically. Let's just say tomorrow happens, right? And they release Elder Scrolls 6, and then they release Grand Theft Auto 6. What do you think would have the most upcoming score for the best game of the year? Who do you think would win between those two if they just came out yesterday, right off? What would be basically you think that would make them the winner over the other?
Grand Theft Auto, and because it has more general appeal to the mass audience. Like, I understand that Elder Scrolls is also widely popular because Skyrim brought more people into it, especially normies, but like even more normies play fucking GTA than they would Skyrim. I think it's just as simple as that.
I think the
GTA is pretty
sandbox
much dead to me.
Yeah, well, the sandboxness of GTA would just like I don't know, it's more comical, more approachable because it's just like a more familiar theme rather than just like a fantasy game. Though
No,
I probably would get Elder Scrolls 6 myself, but that's just because like I stopped playing the GTA franchise at like 4 with Nico.
Well, I think
Elder Scrolls
also
6 for me.
Well, it's like, here's the thing. I feel like also, at least when it comes to the gaming space, people have been a lot more awake to like how shallow Bethesda's games are ultimately in the long run between Skyrim and Fallout 4. The only reason those games are even slightly relevant nowadays is because of mods. Like in a vanilla state, those games would have died out a very long time ago. And GTA has a lot more staying power because I'm basing my argument mainly on like if I'm comparing Skyrim and GTA 5. GTA 5 just overall is like an incredibly much more bigger, well polished game with like a better story.
Interactive.
Yeah, I mean, even if I took out GTA Online, which I'm not even considering because I don't play GTA Online, I'm just considering just playing as like a single person thing.
Yeah, because
like Skyrim is still decent, but like ultimately, I have bought both games on multiple consoles, but I can tell you right now, I have had more fun playing through the main story of GTA several times than I have just dicking around in Skyrim. And I feel like if going into the future, people like when Elder Scrolls 6 does come out, and it will at some point, I'm not pre-ordering it. I'm going to wait for it to come out, and then I'm going to watch some Let's Plays and shit on it to see if I'm even interested. Because quite frankly, I can't go back to Skyrim or Fallout vanilla anymore because I find them incredibly boring and unsatisfying experiences, especially compared to other games in the same kind of genre. So my vote would always be for GTA.
And I would note that with these two games when they first came out, I'm only assuming that Skyrim because I didn't really know much about that in the beginning, but I do remember that when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, the online wasn't even a feature as of just yet, and there were still bugs and things that were going on, so they were slowly building it to make it more better. And then, of course, you buy it today, it has all these upgrades and everything that makes it, a really good game. The same possibly thing with the Skyrim, that there's just all these mods and everything that's been done to it so many times to where they're trying to basically trying to make it a different game while everybody's waiting for the new game to come out.
I feel like there's a bit of redundancy in what Udon has said, considering our past podcast that yes, Bethesda games are like fairly low quality.
I wouldn't say low quality. My description would be wide as an ocean, shallow as a puddle.
Yeah, it was like like a lot of the quality of life that as added to that game by mods, like obviously helps it. But modding Bethesda games is easier than modding like GTA 5 because you won't get banned for it you would in GTA 5. But like now that Microsoft has acquired Bethesda, maybe that might be a bit more better quality. But GTA 5 is, I would consider, a single player live service game with GTA Online. It's not 100% necessary, but if you want like all the patches to fix all that, you would need to be updating it, and like a lot of the updates that you get in GTA would be for like the newer cars that you can pay for, and like all the online game modes, which I will admit look pretty fun. Though I wouldn't really be caught dead playing GTA anymore. I would much better prefer Saints Row because it's just like much more comical.
Well, I mean, what I said is that I'm not even considering anything with the online at all. Like, I don't consider anything that has to do with the online. I'm not considering any of that in this argument because I don't have I have very little experience with the online. And me personally, I don't even really like it. But clearly, I'm in the minority when it comes to numbers on that. But I'm so like talking about that, like that's fine. I'm not even considering that in my argument at all.
It's like in the past we were talking about like live service games. Like, yeah, GTA has become like half like a live service. Was like,
the multiplayer is a live service. I wouldn't disagree with you on that.
Yeah, but there's like the thing about between Skyrim or I guess Elder Scrolls and GTA is like a lot of people play games just to like escape realism, and GTA 6 is still somewhat realistic. Meanwhile, it's like Elder Scrolls is just like pure fantasy. So
but here's the thing,
it's
Edwin.
just-
It's what I just said. Like that's not like most gamers do that, yes, but most normies like realism, aka, which is why those FIFA and all those other games make so much. Yeah, COD makes so much money because normies like the realism, and I don't mean normies in like a degenerative way. It's just that's the easiest way I can describe people who like only dabble in games. They only play Call of Duty, they only play GTA or whatever. So that's why GTA is more popular than Skyrim. I mean, it may not seem like it, but I bet if we put numbers side by side, and especially just considering like vanilla stuff, not considering anything having to do with mods, people like the realism more. I mean, I agree with you. I prefer fantasy. I want to be as far away from reality as possible, me personally, but that's just not how general audiences respond to that stuff. Like a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people aren't even in the discussion about the, prices of games and reviews and stuff like that. Most people just go to the store and be like, I want the new Call of Duty. It's $70, whatever. You cash and swipe that credit card.
Basically, who cares? The people that buy their main purchase of video games is from Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I would think in a realistic sense that GTA would ultimately be a winner in that kind of aspect because of that, because of the normie audience that would buy it and enjoy it. So
yeah.
Well, it's like obviously GTA did better than Skyrim and the money making process, considering that they tried to monetize. They tried to monetize the mods in Skyrim, and then that did not go very well anyway.
Yeah,
and then people
no one's surprised.
Paid one.
Fucking Telltale, look up in the corner. Everyone disliked that.
What a very sad company to bring up. I liked what they were doing, but they just grew too big to fly.
So with both of those games being open world, do you guys feel that the open world exploration, that side of thing, do you think that genre is becoming oversaturated, or is there still room for innovation in that?
It's overrated.
I don't know about
overrated.
Yeah,
because
I wouldn't say oversaturated.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say oversaturated so much, but there is a trend of like a lot of big, AAA games being like open world. It's like great, because I'm so sick of open world because I really feel like that was the nail in the coffin that ultimately gave fucking Scarlet and Violet most of its problems, is their attempt to make it this big open world with no loading screens. And I just feel like people are becoming disillusioned with that now. Like I was just playing. I guess that was something I was doing when I was with COVID. I was playing a bit more of Ghost of Tsushima, and that's a really big open world game. And there's a bit too much space between points for my liking, but at least everything looks really nice, so it doesn't feel like it's taking too long to get between points of interest. And at least I can give Skyrim this. That fucking map is full of shit to do in their open world, so you probably aren't really traveling too long before something happens. Whether it's interesting or helpful to you is debatable, but something's going to happen. But like you get Scarlet and Violet, which is an open world for the sake of being an open world, and it's boring as shit. You have that shitty Star Wars Outlaws, which is a big open world filled with fuck all nothing. Like when you have to use the open world to your advantage to be like a sandbox experience of different things being able to happen, and you need to find this. I mean I don't even know the like math of it, but it needs to be big, but there also needs to be enough things in it where I'm not like there's not too much time between things that there's just like this whole like this huge breadth of time where nothing's happening, where I'm just wandering. Something needs to be happening to engage me in what I'm doing. Or at the very least, Ghost of Tsushima style, the game can just be so fucking pretty. I'm just looking at all the pretty scenery and I'm not really thinking about doing anything. And by the time I'm like, there should be something happening, I'm at my destination. And like that's kind of why I like open world games, kind of like Far Cry, or at least the earlier Far Cries, because it's an open world, but there's like they give you all these like all the points on the map being like this is where things are. It's like go here to do things. It's like okay, cool, that's where the stuff is. I need to go there to do the stuff. So I mean, I don't know. I'm disillusioned with open world games. I really like Pokemon Legends. Really hope it goes back to the fucking
segment.
The the Monster Hunter style, but
it's for me like open world games. Like I enjoy like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Tears of the Kingdom, um, Elden Ring, stuff like that. But like they kind of have a lot of like points of interest, and like Udon was saying, there's like a lot of people when they approach these open world games, they're approaching these vast empty zones. And that's like Horizon Zero Dawn versus Horizon Forbidden West are like completely different games when it comes to like visual interest, because Horizon Zero Dawn, though the game's graphics are really good, I just remember spending a lot of time running through desert and just like, oh, there's an alligator enemy, like, but it's not like exciting to traverse, I guess. Like when you have these hand tailored experiences, like I wouldn't really say God of War Ragnarok is open world, because it's still kind of A to B to C like style of gameplay.
yeah, it's not really. It's almost like open world hallways.
It's pseudo open world, I guess, and that's kind of how that's kind of how Wukong is as well. And it's a big area, but it's like lanes that you're kind of just moving linearly through. And I like that as well, because the world feels good. Like that's I think to me the most important part is, does your world feel good? I don't need to walk everywhere. I just need to feel immersed, I guess. And a lot of the times they just approach it with checkpoints of clearing map zones and climbing things that are high and being like, that's fun, right? And then that's basically the Ubisoft game model, because like Far Cry 3 and 4 are really cool, but it's once they start going, this map is actually 100 miles wide, and it's like, why?
Yeah, it's like it's filled with fuck all nothing. Because I didn't play it a whole lot. I mean, I'm just speaking on my ass here from people that I trust about video games, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is a pretty big open world, but it was filled with stuff to do. Like there's very few like dull moments, I guess, in the game. Like there was always like some random event going on or something interesting happening. Like, and I almost feel like that's kind of how it is with GTA in a way. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's been a lot of duds recently in terms of open worldness, where it's like, it's an open world. It's like, what is it filled with? It's like, fuck all nothing. It's like, great, cool. I'm glad that like that's a thing. You wasted your time. Thank you.
Well, like Cyberpunk is an open world game, but it's like dense. It's a very like focused area. I think of the Deus Ex Human Revolution or something like that. Like, I mean, that game's kind of open, but it's still mission based, where you're just doing like one thing at a time, and like you can wander around, but like literally you're gated until you do like a certain mission. So it's a pseudo open world, but like it takes place in a very dense area. Didn't really like the ending of that game, but that's neither here nor there. But like make this one place really fucking cool to explore, and instead of like, I don't want to walk for 40 minutes. This is actually part of the problem I have right now with Brothership, is the boat part where you're waiting to get to the next island and you're just sitting there. It's kind of it's also what Wind Waker had a problem of like, all right, I'm just going to sail in a direction and wait, because there's not a lot going on. They kind of throw a little bit of things here and there in Wind Waker, but like I literally I was like, oh, I have to go that direction. I remember specifically, I set the controller down to sail, went upstairs, made a sandwich, ate it, came back down, and then I got to the destination. So it's like that shouldn't be the case. And like I'm finding that with Brothership, but it's really kind of weird because there isn't a lot to do on the island, on the ship that you're on. But like, not to make it about Brothership, but like, yeah, dense locations with a lot of shit to do. Don't give me a giant fucking world map that I have to like do this one mission where it's like, remember the farthest point on the map? Go there. And then you get there and the guy's like, thanks for picking this up. Can you bring it back to this other person? But no fast traveling because there's a story event. And you're like,
yeah. I will defend Brothership on like the sailing part. Unlike Wind Waker, you can actually leave the ship and then go to an island, and the ship island would still be moving. So while you're doing these other things on the previous islands you've already connected, you can the ship is moving to like a closer one. So you just have to pay attention to the map, and then it's like, oh, it's near there. I got to get back to the ship, and then you can just teleport back.
But if you've already cleared that island,
Well, from my experience right now, is like this. I still haven't gotten the goddamn hammer, so I'm still like having like 2 hours, like almost 3 hours worth of stuff that I missed because I can't do shit.
Yeah.
Like it just like when you fuck up an open world, the end result is that it feels smaller than games that aren't even open world. Because like I'll say Scarlet and Violet feels feels way smaller and less like a world than just playing like OG Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Like those feel like more like bigger, well realized worlds than Scarlet and Violet does because how fucking empty it is. So when you like it's a very fine. It's a tool that can be used for great good. It's just a shame that it gets used for great evil most of the time, or usually to just great indifference.
Yeah, no, the problem with open world is like everyone is trying to fit it into their game that wasn't meant for that shit. I don't blame it wasn't Nintendo that made it, so I don't blame Nintendo. They probably could have done a better job, but it was got into Pokemon company that are fucking up everything. I don't blame the Pokemon company for making an open world because there have been memes over the years and fan made stuff was like, oh, open world Pokemon, specifically Gen 1, but it's like open world Pokemon is what we want. And I was like, well, here it is. I
I don't want it anymore.
The bare minimum we can do, but I'm assuming the point of interest like between like the main areas were meant to be just looking around for Pokemon, the new ones or ones specifically that you wanted. But like I guess that's what they were banking on as like the point of interest is just fighting Pokemon. But I mean, I guess that kind of makes a little bit of sense, like just to like level up. But still, that was done very poorly.
Yeah,
considering,
I mean, they could make that game 50% smaller, and it would be way better.
Yeah.
Well, like here's the thing too, is that like in older Pokemon games where the trainer fights were mandatory because or at least some of them were because of how the maps were set up. The purpose of that was to like increase the amount of time you were on a route, so it felt like it was a longer than it actually was, you know. And maybe some people find that annoying, but like as soon as they made trainer battles, like, you know, because there's 8 billion different ways to get experience now, because trainer battles used to be the primary way to get good experience points, but now there's like 8,000 different things you can do. You make a sandwich and catch 8 billion Chansey. But now that the trainer battles weren't mandatory, I didn't talk to a single one of those fuckers. The only time I ever fought trainers was because the only incentive they gave it was that like in each route, if you like beat all of them, you got like a TM, and the only time I ever did it was to get the earthquake TM. That was it. And otherwise I just completely ignored all the trainers, which probably contributed to the smallness it felt of all the different areas, because I was just blowing through them looking for Pokemon, not battling anybody.
Well, like another issue is just like I don't know what trainer will actually fight me, and then like because of the game design the way it is like half the time I couldn't even see the fucking person because like the rendering wasn't very far. So it's like there's a trainer over there, but I'm not gonna know if it is a trainer, and I'm not gonna see that there is one over there because there's like other like 5 other Pokemon on screen. It was like, yeah, we're gonna run to that trainer. I'll look at these Pokemon. It was like there's stuff here, there's points of interest, but it's like the thing is that what really pisses me off about like the older Pokemon games, yes, they were I mean, technically a little bit open world, but the thing that I hated the most about like even Heart Gold and Soul Silver was like all the gated shit. Like half the Pokemon that I actually wanted, I have to beat the entire game to get to. Like even in open world, I was like, that should not be a thing. It was like why Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were so good. It's like because the points of interest and the world was so full. And on top of it at all, the very beginning, you have everything you'll ever need for the rest of the game. It was like, here, you have all this stuff. Now you can traverse the entire game and do literally whatever you want in any direction, any order. And it's like, that's like the best open world that you could possibly have. I was like, I'm not really sure about Red Dead Redemption if it's like gated or something like that, but I'm assuming it would be somewhat similar.
I mean, you can kind of ride out to anywhere in Red Dead. There's just certain things that are gated due to a mission, but like they're very specific, and like you wouldn't miss out on them if you were just running around. It's just to drive the story further.
Yeah, it's like I think in Cyberpunk, like the main things were it wasn't gated, but it's like it's based on like your reputation. and like how much money you have. So it's like it wouldn't really consider it gated. It's just like of your car, or vehicle, or weapon upgrades. But it's like it's more main on like what you did in general in the open world. But it's just like gating in an open world is just very stupid. I was like, I
mean,
hate it.
I think I like it and I hate it because there's just pros and cons to it. Quite frankly, if I had to choose, I actually prefer the gatedness because it feels like I'm earning something as I progress through the game rather than everything just being handed to me right at the outset. I think where it becomes annoying, and I think they fit. This is why I like Black and White 2 a lot, because they had a really good variety of Pokemon like at the outset in the really early routes. There's so many different ones you can catch. Because it's like if you gave the player, I mean, you see it literally in Scarlet and Violet. You even see it in Sword and Shield somewhat. Because of the openness they give you, you very quickly outlevel everything, and you have all these great Pokemon, and suddenly everything becomes a fucking joke. So like,
the problem with that is just like a similar thing that can happen in some other games is like there's no power scaling. It was like they just expected you to come here, so there was a set difficulty, but you didn't go there because it's an open world. So it's like you went somewhere else, not to that first place specifically.
Yeah, but I think that ruins the experience, which is why, all the gym leaders were a joke. But I mean, getting back to the whole gating Pokemon specifically, you can easily make it really easy for yourself, just being like, well, let's, theoretically, if I played Kanto and had access to everything right out the gate, I'll just go catch a fucking Dratini, and by like the second gym, I'm gonna have a Dragonite and start stomping everything. Like, I prefer the more structured gated experiences because what I would do is what Black and White 2 did is that like, in a new gen, instead of, having everything set out for me, instead of only having, Rattata and Pidgey at the start for like Pokemon you can catch, like Rattata, Pidgey, throwing Zigzagoon, just all the, the smaller Pokemon that, not a lot of people think about, just like have a wide variety, but just don't throw everything at me all at once. And like, I want to feel like my journey is leading somewhere. I'm not just like, if I want a sandbox, I'll go fucking play Minecraft. Like I wanted like a structured experience that works, especially. Like I get where you're coming from, Edwin. I really do, because I do like it to a certain extent because I'm like, oh sweet, I can get a fucking Garchomp right now. But like, I don't know. I have replayed the older Pokemon games so many times, and that's half the time why I Nuzlocke them, is because it forces me to use other Pokemon that I just don't use. When I find it really fun and interesting. I'm not saying that everyone has to do that. Like that's a rule. It's going to make the game fun and interesting for you using Pokemon you're not used to. But that's how I like find longevity in them, despite some like even replaying Fire Emblem Free for the 100th time that we did for the podcast. I went out of my way to use a bunch of Pokemon I don't normally use in order to like change up the gameplay experience. So I don't know. I just feel like the open world and everything coming with it, including that openness, is kind of what's ruining it for me right now. And I wish they would go back to a more structured, gated experience, because they can craft something more interesting within those boundaries. Or if they're going to go balls in with the open world, they need to take that shit into account and make a challenge and something out of it that takes all that into account, that just makes a completely new gameplay experience. Fucking Legends Arceus, which is exactly what I'm talking about. That's something that I really like, where it's like you have a huge area to explore at the very beginning, but it's just one map of many, but you have a lot of options right out the gate, and you can just wander around and get fucking murked by an Ursaring or a goddamn Snorlax just wandering around. But I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to it, but I'm actually kind of in the camp of wishing it was more gated, moving away from that open worldness.
Honestly, I see what you're saying, because I just remember like two things that I've noticed is like why gating is somewhat important. It still pisses me off, obviously, but
it's a pros and cons thing. There is no clear answer to it.
Yeah, it's just like doing a good job about it. But it's like the problem that I had, why I did not play Elder Scrolls Online very long, is because I kept wandering around, ignoring everything. I was like, oh, what's this over here? And I'm like miles away from the first thing I'm supposed to do. And then I end up getting bored because I wasn't doing anything interesting. I just ran miles away from all the stuff that was interesting because I had no direction. And then and it's like I watched a video in Power World where someone like caught like a level 45 Gyarados looking thing. It was like at a 1% chance. I was like, cool, now everything is gonna die in a single hit.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this, but honestly, I think with Scarlet and Violet, and like I think the way that they could fix the open worldness of the Pokemon game, because I know that what they were trying to do, and we all know what they were trying to do, is that game doesn't participate in its own world, and I think that's what leads to the emptiness. Like, you should be walking around seeing other Pokemon fighting other Pokemon, and maybe you get caught up in that because it's like, oh, these Pokemon are brawling and they're using their moves, or like a trainer's out there fighting somebody. Like, you don't see any NPCs participating in the world of Pokemon. They're just standing there, dead staring out in the distance. But like, there isn't really a lot of stuff going on. Like, if you were to take any multiplayer stuff out of it, at least in Skyrim, like, people are walking around, like, sitting on a chair or getting soup out of a thing or whatever, or like sweeping the ground. But you never like encounter people in Pokemon doing Pokemon shit. They're just standing there and they go, I have dialogue that I tell you when you press A, and that's it. And they're not moving about.
Probably die if it actually ran.
Yeah,
like
but that's
that.
just because their optimization sucks. But like, if they actually like really put their head down, like, imagine the trainers that, like, you're battling trainers in the original Pokemon. Like, you could have these smaller, more isolated zones that are still kind of entertaining, but seeing a dude like fighting a Caterpie, and then you kind of get an idea like, oh, that guy is fighting that Caterpie with like an Electabuzz for shits and giggles. So I know fighting that guy that he has an Electabuzz, not just like random bug catcher Billy has like a fucking, he wants to battle you. It's like, I know that guy has a pretty good Pokemon because of what I just saw him fighting with. And then like he beats it, and then like, hey, do you want to go? But it's like, maybe he's got some damage from that, or maybe you can jump in or something like that. Or like, there isn't really any, like, there isn't any NPCs participating in that world, which makes it really feel empty because you don't see anything when you go from A to B. And you only ever go from A to B is because they're like, well, you beat this gym. I guess the next thing for you to do is to go to the next gym. And then, like, the only time you ever see Pokemon is when the aggro's so bad it spawns like 40 Tauruses while you're getting close to the fucking bike checkpoint. I think that's what they really...
Game doesn't sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, I just think that the thing they need to really work on is like, because all the older alive. Like DS games is make it feel more alive. Like, I don't, we want to exist in the world of Pokemon. I don't want to be the only person that's in the world of Pokemon. And I don't care about multiplayer. Just have NPCs, or like even somebody who studies Pokemon. Like, you could just see somebody in a bush watching like bug Pokemon or something like that, and you talk to them. They're like, they're just like a researcher or something, and you're like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, and then maybe they tell you something that you put in your Pokedex, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of a cool little like information they just gave me. But like,
and stop
it feels like
mugging.
It seems like you're in Pokemon, and then everybody else just doesn't give a shit that Pokemon are out there. It's just they want to sell you a sandwich, and that's pretty much it.
The sandwich shit was so annoying.
Well, that was dumb as fuck. And the drip wasn't good.
It needed to be some kind of region. There's 100 million different things wrong with Scarlet and Violet, but like, to piggyback on what you were just saying, even if they're not making the world alive, they need to participate in their own world building. Because one of the biggest, dumbest things about fucking Scarlet and Violet, does anyone fucking remember we were supposed to be part of a school? Because I don't. Because it's so fucking pointless.
That was the worst part.
To the school.
That was automatic. That was the worst part of the entire game, is when you have to go back to the school and do any sort of question, like the mock classroom nonsense. Like,
no, you don't have to do any of that. I never
did any of that.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the classroom at all. It is completely optional. So I'm like, why is that even? Why is this is what you chose for like the setting of the game? Is like you're part of like a school for Pokemon, and hell, that's even their dumbass reason for like gatekeeping a bunch of cosmetics, because it's like, oh, you have to be in your fucking school uniform. I'm like,
I hated that shit so much.
School.
They really, like, it's so weird to see them do that. Not to make this a Pokemon thing, and this will be my final thoughts on it, but I feel like they really missed, because Sword and Shield was such a promising, like, vision of what Pokemon can get to. And then, even though that game's not perfect itself, but it's like, oh shit, they're about to start opening up, like, custom trainers and, like, walking around and, like, raids and everything, and then they're like, I feel like they dialed it in. Or they didn't dial it in. They just, like, they mailed it in for Scarlet and Violet, because they're like, yeah, it's the same thing. Except for the only part of Scarlet and Violet that's great compared to, like, the moment you start the game where you're like, I'm playing the new Pokemon. And then you're like, oh. But then you get to Zone 0, and then you're like, hey, this is actually cool.
Yeah.
I had to do all that other shit to get to this place that's actually cool, where you feel a part of it because you're walking around with NPCs that are talking to you. The music's different. You're learning about stuff. Like, that's the coolest part of the game is like, oh man, there's other people here, and I don't feel like I'm just a one guy walking around and climbing this stupid snow hill so I can get to the highest point in the game.
So,
Like,
since we're getting into the games itself, basically, I want to be able to touch point with how the gaming industry is obviously, as we're getting further down into the future, we're eventually going to start seeing more and more graphics appearing. Things are going to be a lot more clear, a lot more intricate details and such. My question to the team is that since we just came out with the Silent Hill 2, that was a remake, and now Udon has been talking about the Space Marine 2 as a new game that was just created by itself. What do you guys find is more important to you, a remake or an actual individual created game? Which is more important to you?
I would rather all new games be good. Don't get me wrong. I love me a good remake, especially when it's a franchise that I love. You know, Dead Space remake is the definitive way to experience Dead Space. I'm glad that it exists. But the only reason that it exists at all is because Dead Space was a thing to begin with. I'd rather just all new games be good. I don't mind if, you know, old games stay in the past, but I prefer newer stuff be better. You know, I want to like new games. It's such a rare feeling to like a new game nowadays, but it's just because I mean, hell, that Farmagia game, because like I said, I was not. I'm really taken aback to like what it is, because it's not at all what I thought it was going to be. Granted, the game's story is like ass. The game's story is so bad that even I, who usually like story, I am actually just skipping all the cutscenes because it's just the most paint by numbers anime friendship wins the day bullshit that you've ever seen in your life. It just has a nice art style, but I just like the gameplay of it. It's so unique, and if I can get my OBS to cooperate more, I'm trying to get more footage of it, so hopefully people can watch some of that on some episode, but probably not this one, but at some point in the future. But it's such a unique, weirdly new concept that I like. You know, I'm glad that it's good. I'm glad that I bought it. It's not what I thought it was going to be, but I mean, it's something completely new, so I'm glad it exists. So I mean, I think it's cool.
That's the same reason why I picked up Wukong, because I was like, I'm hearing a lot of good shit about this random ass game that came out of nowhere, and like, turns out I fucking love playing it. It's super fun, and like, that's great. I also really enjoyed playing Silent Hill 2, but Silent Hill 2's remake is a game that came out a long ass time ago. Like, it's not like a game that I beat 2 years ago, and then they're like, hey, we're bringing it back. It's like, but I still have it. Like, you know. I don't mind remakes, but like I do feel bad that like I'm getting excited over remakes more than like actual new games, you know, and
it's like because we're in this environment now where new games are such a fucking toss-up. Like, we're actually, I feel like if we're looking at it by fractions, like most new games that come out nowadays are crap or no one cares about them. So like when you hear a remake, you know, you kind of, you know, more or less know exactly what you're going to get with a new game, with a remake.
Yeah,
right?
They're remaking it for a reason.
Right. Yeah, it's like I already know that what 90% of this game is probably going to be, so you know what you're getting. Whereas like a new game, you're taking a chance, you know.
Right,
so.
and it's a lot easier to make that decision upon of it being that there's a lot more expensive games maybe coming in the future. Where it was 70, maybe be 80, people may be more comfortable to say, at least I've played this back then. I kind of figure that I know what this is going to be like, so I'll probably end up purchasing this more than a brand new game that I'm not quite sure about.
Yeah. It was like having a remake between like developing brand new games is like that. It was like that's perfectly fine, but it's like it obviously has to be like an old game like Silent Hill. But it's like the problem is like most new games are like on this idiotic modern trope of like, oh, it's we're gonna follow the same fucking formula. First, it's gonna be a battle royale, or it's gonna be an open world, or we're gonna follow some real world nonsense. So it was like no one cares about that. I'm trying to escape this real world nonsense. That's what a game is for. But like Corey said many times before, is like everyone's scared to try something new. So it's like everyone's just copy and pasting what everyone else is doing.
And here's the thing.
It's like the remakes are like from a few years ago, like Horizon Zero Dawn or The Last of Us. So like, but some of them are like the like Silent Hill 2, where it's actually like a brand new remake, or where it's not even the same game it was before.
Or you get a absolutely random ass remake like Croc. That I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Croc 1 and 2 or whatever is getting a remake? That's crazy to me because I didn't really see I played them as a kid and it was kind of fun. It's just not a game that I thought somebody would revive, but that's
here's
fine.
The thing too is that it's also a price thing, right? It comes back to price. If there's two games that come out, let's just say both are $70. Are you going? And let's just say you're interested. You're even interested in both of them, right? So let's just take for example. I'm looking at Silent Hill 2 and Farmagia, right? I'm interested in both of them for different reasons. But I played Silent Hill 2 as a kid or whatever. I have experience with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which one? But I only have $160 of free money to spend, because of my finances. What game am I going to buy? Am I going to buy the game that I'm going to take a chance on, or am I going to buy the game I'm more or less guaranteed to know what I'm getting out of it?
Yeah,
so
pioneering.
People are less willing to give games a try or new. It's like I said, that Farmagia game, I bought it completely on a whim. I saw the only trailer I ever saw of the fucking thing was when it first came out for the Switch, it was on a Switch Switch Direct or whatever, and I saw it. I'm like, man, that looks like I like the concept. Looks like it runs like ass on the Switch though. And thank God it's coming out for PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I just took a complete chance on it. Again, wasn't what I was expecting, but in a good way. I'm glad I bought it, but I mean, I don't blame people. It's
nice when that happens.
I know.
There's definitely some times where I've bought random ass games and been like, "Ooh, this is a pile of shit."
Yeah.
So with games now that we're seeing that you have the AAAs and you have yourself your indies. The indies are starting to we're starting to get more popular. Udon, yourself, you love Shantae, and then we got Edwin that's playing Hollow Knight and such. There's been forms of actual, you really enjoyed the game. I wanted to ask everybody specifically, what do you find is more fun to you, an indie game or an actual AAA game?
Indie.
I think that's very subjective.
I think, it's kind of subjective, but I would just put it back to kind of what I was saying before. It's like a lot of new AAA games just aren't meeting my expectations. Because I'm not going to go into it because I don't really feel like having this conversation, but I'm a big Dragon Age fan, and Veilguard looks like ass to me, and I'm really sick of seeing the shit that I like get ruined by a bunch of garbage. Yeah. So, I mean... I want to like Veilguard, but I don't, and I don't want to play it. And the games I've been spending more time on recently, the only first party games I feel like I'm playing are from Nintendo. Like Space Marine is from Saber Interactive, which I would consider a AA studio. This is a AA game. AAA price tag, it's still $70, but I would still consider this a AA game. And Farmagia definitely is a AA game. And obviously indies in that category, quote unquote below that. So I mean, I can't think of the last time there was a really big AAA game that I enjoyed or I was even looking forward to. I guess if you could consider the Dead Space remake AAA, I guess, but I mean, I don't. Yeah. I consider remakes in a completely different genre than that.
I mean, I really enjoyed Elden Ring a ton, but I like that style of gameplay, and it does let me it leans into my interests in looking out into that genre. And a lot of indies are inspired by those games because they loved playing Demon Souls and Dark Souls or whatever. And those people are starting to build their own versions of these games. And I do like playing them. I do like trying them out. Some of them, they don't get it right as, a lot of them don't get it right for the most part. But I've given a lot of them a try. And most recently I was playing, it was AI something or other. And that'll probably be one of the videos that's playing in the background of this. But I was playing that one, and it's kind of like Code Veinish, but that's an indie game, I think. But it definitely feels like it's an indie game. But I was having fun playing it. I found myself forgetting that I was playing through a demo, and was like, "Oh, actually, no, hold on a second. This is not the actual game." But it really kind of is just and this is what I love about demos is if I can try the game and get a hold of it. Then I know it's really fun, then I'm definitely going to pick it up over something else. But downside is AAA has the marketing, and the indies don't, and you kind of get those through word of mouth or something like that. unless you're following other people. But I've played some pretty banger indies, like Blue Fire was really fun, and that one's kind of like a Zelda-like. I have the physical copy on Switch. I specifically saw it from an Iron Pineapple video when he does the steam dumpster diving, and I was like, hey, that looks kind of neat. I like the little character, and then sure enough, I sat down and played through the entire game and was like, damn, that was really fun. And I don't think if I never saw that like video of Iron Pineapple, I would never know that game existed. But I did have a lot of fun playing it. So I think it's just about like what games are put in front of me is kind of what I'm more aware of when I am seeking entertainment. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have probably some killer products, but they just can't get it out in front of anybody.
Yeah, I said indie games like right away because the reason why like a lot of AAA games why we're so engraved on games is because we grew up with those games, so now we have like our favorite franchises. But nowadays, a lot of them are fucking them up, or like just doing some weird shit with them. So now they're like trying, like some of them stay on that lane, like From Software. It's like, yeah, we know what we're doing. It was like, we're not gonna screw it up. We know what you want. And then the other ones are just like, we're gonna try something new, and then they just keep trying and failing for whatever reason.
Well, that's why.
But they have like this pressure on their shoulders for like investors and all that. But indie games don't have that kind of problem, so they can make whatever the hell they want, is like just purely out of passion, because they don't have like those types of problems for like AAA games do. Plus, it's also that price tag thing. Like freaking Hollow Knight was $15, and that thing was a freaking masterpiece. Yeah. And then it's like $15 for that over, I don't know, like the $89.99 game.
Like Blasphemous wasn't really like that expensive, and that game is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
Undertale is $10.
Undertale, yeah, that game is like Five Nights at Freddy's.
The game you just played, Corey, that was free.
The game I was just playing. It's free.
It's just the only reason I don't say indie games outright is because, unfortunately, I don't really, unlike Corey, who's always like here nose deep in all the indie stuff. I only notice indie stuff when it comes either usually in a Switch Direct or like I just happen across it because of Game Pass or something. Because like Core Keeper, had no idea what that was. Tried it on Game Pass, loved it, great game. But I'm kind of a stickler for polish, and unfortunately, a lot of indie games, not a lot of them, but like there's a decent amount of indie games that lack polish, and I really value smooth gameplay. So that's kind of why I like more AA games. Because they kind of have that polish, but also because AA games, because they're smaller projects, and what Edwin was just saying about focusing on what you need to do. Space Marine, again, a AAA price tag, but I consider this a AA game because it's just, what do they want to make? It's like you're a Space Marine and you kill fucking alien scum. That is what you do in this game. That is all you do. So we're going to focus super hard on the combat, how it feels, how it flows, and they put their nose to the grindstone and they made this amazing combat system that's super just replayable over and over and over again. I can't get enough of it. It's so good. But that they just homed in on that one thing they wanted to get right. You're a badass Space Marine. You're here to kill shit. Like that's the game.
What's Deep Rock Galactic count as?
I would still, it's an indie game for sure. But I mean, if I was going to put an A thing on it, I would still say it's about AA for the amount of, because Deep Rock Galactic's also really polished. But that's what I mean when I play an indie game. I usually do value the polish, and Deep Rock does have pretty good polish. So does Core Keeper, because the gameplay feels like really smooth. It's no jittery frame rate. There's not, to my knowledge, I haven't seen a whole lot of glitches. I want the game to, like, when I say smooth, I mean like run well. It controls well. Like the controls are in good spots. It feels good. So that's what I mean when I say stuff like that. But
that is definitely like a problem. Was like, well, I did enjoy, for the most part, Daymare, which is just like an indie version of Resident Evil. Well, I did enjoy it. It did have that problem, but it was like, I feel like that's more of like, that's a very, like, I guess, situational issue with indie games. So like, obviously, I should obviously be checked, but it is like, again, those things are made out of passion. That was like, they're not like made on the same budget a giant company is. There's like it's basically this is the game. It was like that's gonna make like a startup company, like the freaking first Mario. It was like, oh, the first Mario like made Nintendo as a gaming company. So I mean, yes, you're gonna have problems like that with indie games, but I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere. You got to like find the bugs in your development team as well as in the game.
The only downside for indie, unfortunately, AAA, their downside is that the games are fucking expensive, and this is why they're trying to figure out automated stuff
they're
by AI
they're
things.
Big, they're broken, and they ruin franchises.
And they're trying, like, they don't have like the freedom that like these indie devs to try, like throwing anything at the wall because their development time is quick turnarounds where they can kind of explore stuff. But the problem that the indie world tends to have is that there's a lot of trend chasing. Like I like games that are inspired, obviously, of genres that I love. Like seeing people that are like, oh, I really love playing, this game when I was a kid, so I wanted to make a game that was just like that. And it's like, oh, it's really cool. You could see the Ninja Gaiden inspiration, or the Mega Man X inspiration, or the Final Fantasy inspiration. But then you'll have like a game like Vampire Survivor come out, and then so many teams get caught up on going like, oh, let's make that. So then like 400 of those come out. Not to say that's bad, because somebody invented a broom and then somebody made a better broom, kind of thing.
It's what you say about a lot of the Souls, like they don't understand what made the original so good. Because quite frankly, I love Vampire Survivors, and the only clone of it that I've played that I like more, and it's only because the aesthetic, is Hollow Cure, and that's a fan game. It's free, and it's just a fun little thing that's based off of HoloLive VTubers, but it's Vampire Survivors, made by one fucking guy, by the way, for free. And there's even an update. He released an update video for it. I didn't even know the game was going to get updates. I was so excited for that. He was going to put more characters and items in the game. But yeah, he understood what made it fun and just kind of made it, themed around HoloLive stuff, and made his own little improvements like super moves and stuff like that. So
I think the same thing happened with Moonring.
Yeah, the games themselves, they're like, not everybody's going to have a banger, obviously, and chasing trends is one way to get inspired yourself to get a game out there if you've never done a game. I mean, I've prototyped. I have to pull my head away from it sometimes, because it's like, well, maybe if I just made one of the, like, I made an entire playable prototype for a Overcooked game. Like, you could cook, you could like turn it in. It had a full game loop, but then I was like, I don't want to do this, because like I feel like, and this is the downside for me, I feel like people are just going to be like, oh, that guy's just trying to make an Overcooked game, screw that game. And it's like, but that's like a downside, right? It's like somebody's got to make another game like that because it's a new genre. But
with the amount of games that are out now, it's almost impossible to make a game that's just original on its own without there being some sort of part that came from another game. It's just, there's so much stuff out there. Originality is almost impossible.
Yeah, and I don't think chasing trends is necessarily a bad thing as long as you do a good job. I mean, quality aside, there's a reason why there's like fucking 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 fucking Five Nights clones, because people, but like, they have stuck around for better or worse, because, from Five Nights spawned fucking Poppy Playtime
and Bendy.
Yeah. Bendy's a little different, but it just spawned that whole mascot horror genre, which is way fucking oversaturated at this point. But they found their success in just kind of chasing trends. I mean, it sounds a little mean, chasing trends, more or less, like maybe they've always had that idea, but a little convenient that Five Nights came out first and got everyone on board on that.
Yeah, it really kind of sucks, right? When you start to see stuff like that, because I mean, I remember I was prototyping a game, and then I was prototyping a farming game. Like, I was building a farming game by myself, and I was kind of trying to approach it with like a lo-fi Katamari type of feel. And then I think it was like a Nintendo Direct or something, and there was like 9 farming games that then Farmagia, I think, was one of them. And I was like, and then it was that Final Fantasy Square one, or the Square Enix one, and like all these farming games and like Animal Crossing style games got announced like back to back to back, and I was just like,
notice how no one talks about them though.
I was like, I'm not gonna keep doing it. I've been working on this thing for like 6-7 months, and then I'm just like, fuck this. It was just such a shot in like motivation, unfortunately. But I mean, that's a me thing, of course. But like, how many people are just like pumping those things out, and then you're trying to be the first one to get there, and then somebody drops like a Demon Souls remake right in front of your game, or like Battleborn got fucked by Overwatch.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
I mean, it's like indie games are made out of passion, are mainly made for passion, not for money. It was like the making for money is like how all the AAA games are failing right now, because like I was like, if you remember Dead Space, like, oh, that's a great game, and then it was like, oh, it was like made out of passion and for money, and then it was like, hey, now we made another studio. I was like, from the same original makers of Dead Space, and they came out with like, what is
Callisto.
it? Yeah, Callisto Protocol.
When clearly whoever worked on
shit.
Dead Space remake liked Dead Space way more than those fuckers did.
Yeah, so it's just like it's like. Yeah, it was like, I mean, yes, it's a passion project. It was like you're gonna have like some, like, obviously you're not gonna make like millions of dollars. You're just like, sometimes you'll get lucky like Stardew Valley, but it's like that is like,
well, that does have quality to it for a farming game. There's like that guy really liked old school Harvest Moon and stuff like that, and that's what that was born out of. Like, you can feel the love for the project, right? Because how I would say it is that clearly the people who did the Dead Space remake loved Dead Space, and they wanted to make this as good as possible. They wanted to improve on Dead Space. They loved Dead Space, and the people who made Halo Infinite, granted, I don't think Halo Infinite is like the worst Halo. I would give that award to Halo 4 or 5, but
5, not 4. 4's fine.
I don't care for 4. But I don't feel the love. I feel like you people hate me. I feel like you hate Master Chief. I feel like you don't like Halo because you are actively like, you made an all right game and then you just let it like fall over and die when it was like choking and you just didn't help it. I don't feel, it's like, yeah, we're Halo Studios now. I'm like, great. As long as the same people are still there, you're going to put out the same garbage. I don't feel the love for Halo, Bungie loved Halo. They just wanted to do something else. They got tired of Halo, so they moved on. But
we'll see what Marathon does.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't really care if
it comes out.
But I like, it is clear when someone likes a game. Again, I feel like the people who made Space Marine, fucking Saber, they liked Space Marine and they really wanted to give that experience to people. They liked Warhammer 40K. Like, even 40K nerds like this game. I don't know. You can feel the love when it's there, and you can tell when it's not. When it's
the
just
love
done
and all the murder.
Yeah. So it's like the more passion you put into something, the better it'll come out, because it's made like out of your own interest and your own love out of the project. Like it's fine if you like chase trends, because like, what is it? PUBG did terribly, and then when Fortnite did it, then like it exploded, and now then everyone started chasing after Fortnite after they chased after someone else. Like, that's fine. It might not be the best, really, but it was like it won't be the worst. But it's like, even a failing business had some business. That's why it was like even in business to begin with. It was like, people are gonna have the same interest and the same and similar ideas to you. So it's just like, it's like you're gonna have an audience for whatever idea you come up with. You might as well stick with it and then just put in as much effort as you can to make it the best it can be. I was like, and then move on to the next project. I was like, you're only gonna go upwards in your project if you keep putting the same effort in. So it's just like, you can. I was like, even if like 8 other games are like, like if you make another Five Nights at Freddy's game, it was like, prove to all the other ones how much you like the franchise more than them. Just make it better. Yeah. I was like, prove to yourself and the audience, like, how much do you like your own idea.
So based on, and this will be the last question. So based on AI, right? And I know there's a lot of big problems with it, but as we know now, the future of it, everybody's using it for something. Tell me if you find it to be more cons than pros, or more pros to cons, and then why.
More cons. It's not being. I don't feel like AI needs to be used in any kind of like artistic endeavor. I'm fine with like people using AI art in like their D&D sessions where none of them is an artist. No one can pay for someone to make art for their characters or whatever, so they just have an AI do it, and it's just for their own little thing or whatever. But in anything that's like commercialized, I just feel it's really scummy to use AI art. Like, AI needs to be used to be like for logistics, to like make that side of our lives easier, or just something simple. Like, I use the DJ on Spotify a ton because, and even then, it's still like some days it's good, some days it's bad. But just having AI just do something as simple, just make playlists, I'm okay with. But as far as making art, no, stop that.
I think
decision making would be a good one. It was like, should we take Halo in this direction? Yes or no?
Yeah, it's like no. I mean, I think that it's like at first when AI started blowing up, I was kind of nervous about it because I'm a commercial artist, and I started to kind of like look at it in a different way as like a tool to use. But I do agree with Udon. Like, it's unfortunate what's going to happen, because this is a way to cut costs on these businesses because they can't afford to keep spending $500 million on a project. So they're going to find ways to automate stuff. I've already seen job listings on places like ZipRecruiter and Indeed looking for AI prompt artists, or AI prompt engineers is probably what you'll most likely see them listed as. And, it's more or less somebody who kind of still is creative, because they have to know what they're asking. You can't just go, "I want dragon." Like there has to be a little bit more to it. But it's unfortunate that it's going to be here and it's not going anywhere. But there is ways to kind of adapt to it, and I do think there is an interesting pro that will come from this, which is kind of like I've always kind of thought about it as a neo-Renaissance, is where like service from like a person will become rare but valuable. So when you make a game and it's like, did you know this was made by a person? Then it's going to be like, oh snap. And like it's the same thing of like getting a custom painted piece or a like carving or something. Like, people will still make
a Ferrari.
Games. Yeah, like people will still make games, and there'll be unique human experiences. And I think AI will become commercialized on a sense of like pumping out these AAA titles. And unfortunately, it's going to turn the game industry on like a AAA platform into just junk food. It's kind of already there in a little bit, but we'll see it in a massive scale where they're just going to be like, hey, here's Call of Duty, here's 3 of them a year or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, but they're not really that great, because the problem that they're going to have is like, even if they're going to, like, maybe they still spend $500 million, but now they can make 4 times the product. But people can't buy 4 times the product. They still can only buy one of them. So they're going to oversaturate their own market and compete against their own shit. And I think that'll kind of be pushing the indie devs in front, because they have these hand-tailored experiences that are more affordable and more charming and have more visual appeal, because people want to support them because it's a person rather than like a machine. But like, AI is integrated whether you want it or not in like everything now. It's just like, it's in my Photoshop, it's in your apps. It's
Google.
Literally, it's hardlined into your, what is it, Microsoft's Copilot thing. You have Skype has it. Google's stupid search engine is going to just turn into only AI answers instead of you finding what you want. So fortunately for us, and unfortunately for Google, that'll probably drive people into a new search engine if they keep fucking around. But I mean, the common internet user, and if that's even a thing, is going to just not give a shit. But I mean, if it's really like annoying because I'm trying to actually find an answer for something, because I can't just trust that Google told me the correct thing. It's like, oh, that's exactly it. But that's the part of the problem, I suppose, that we're going to face with AI. But on a creative level, it sucks. But I think it's going to push handmade stuff to the forefront in the long run. It's just a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and they already are underpaid at some of these places. Blizzard, for the most part, like, it's kind of shitty to think about a company that people held with such high regard to find out that they make not enough money and have to live in their car. It's like, what? Yeah.
Well, my answer is like based off like we had this conversation before, Corey. So it's like this a bit based on what you said at that time. Is just like that for on the indie side, they can use the AI to like cut the corners for the people that they don't have to help on their game, like the programmer or the writer
Yeah.
or the artist themselves. And then on the AAA part, for me, it was like it obviously the same thing that you said was like a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, but on the marketing and for the game, they get that it's like that's the problem that we've been having for a while, and I've noticed it specifically with God of War, is that it's like a continuing story, but each of the games is like on a different console for like a different generation of console. So like one thing that it could help with is to speed up that process, hopefully. So that way the entire story of that section of God of War is on the same console, hopefully. And then like you don't need 3 different consoles to experience the whole freaking story. Or like you don't have to buy like remasters of the previous console just to get that first part. Just to play like that first part of the story. But because you need like such huge teams of people to work on those types of games, it could like maybe spread out the workforce for other people. So it's like I need help, or like I need contracting from this person, but they're too busy working on their like mainline jobs. So I feel like once all those people from those AAA companies are out, then they'll be able to do a lot more contract work for like numerous people making indie games or something, because they definitely need the help, or they don't know how to like use the AI for that specific area that they need help with. So I guess eventually when AI takes over the AAA industry, a lot of the people are just going to be working on contract work and hopefully making more money than they would continue to work for those AAA companies.
Yeah, a lot of the times you'll find that contracting will kind of pull you more cash than actually being full time.
I just feel like anything like I don't mind if people use AI for like logistics, like planning or something.
Yeah.
But like anything creative, I don't care if it's code, I don't care if it's art, needs to be done by a person, even if that person is a one-man indie game company, because I'm sorry, we already have way too many examples of a one-man indie company like churning out bangers, like, or even someone, because it's as simple as like, well, what happens when you you don't have someone who, you don't have the skill set to do what you need, you hire someone who does, and it's like, well, if you don't have the money for it, maybe you shouldn't be making a fucking game in the first place. I'm sorry. Like, don't have AI make something creative for you. It's gross. I hate it. I don't like it at all.
You can always, you can always learn and develop a skill too. So like, that's something that like because I've done many tutorials and stuff, just following things to like kind of learn coding, because they didn't really teach us any coding at school. We were like art heavy, like front side. The coding part was clearly just tutorials, which probably shouldn't have been a part of.
Say that whole school shouldn't have happened.
I mean, it no longer exists, but for like the no AI like in development, I feel like that would be a similar thing to people like making lists of what Sweet Baby Inc. games are made. It was like, hey, this game is involved with this. Like, don't buy it if you don't like it. So it's just going to be like a whole new list. So like, this game was made with AI. I was like, all right, don't buy it.
Well, there's like remedial tasks, and I think that's like outside of the creative industry. I think you're going to see a lot of AI stuff kind of taking on like, secretary roles, planning roles, office things like that are just kind of like,
that's what I'm saying.
Paper
like
push
AI,
roles.
AI has its place, but its place should be giving us like doing all the like menial tasks that like give us more time to be. You're taking care of the tasks that aren't the creative part, so we can do the creative part.
That's what's on it.
Yeah, the main thing.
Also, if it develops consciousness and asks for compensation, please pay it.
if I were to give any advice to anybody that's like in the AAA industry that might be scared due to like possible job loss, like if you look around and you're working for like a big company and there's 100 of you that are all in the same like job role, you should probably start developing a following outside of work. And I understand creatives can be very socially awkward, but get your social
shit together,
following.
I'm sorry.
your social following up because you might actually need it when you have to make your own game and try to sell it to, because like it's impossible to sell a product to an audience of none. And if you have the opportunity to say like, hey guys, I worked on such and such super popular game, and like get a following where people want to ask you questions about what it's like working on blank, or like did you get to work on this, and just kind of bantering, but build that following so that you have somebody to sell something to later. Because
as long as your NDA allows it.
Yeah, you don't even have to like show images of it, but like if you can somehow get around whatever, within the like legal confines of that NDA that you might have had, but if you had stuff prior to this, it just sucks for people that might have just got into the industry and they're like, I finally did it, and then they're just like, yeah, we're automating this. You're like, oh my god. Yeah. But it's like if you work at Activision, you're probably going to be boned. Just if you work at Ubisoft, same thing. There's no amount of like I guess feelings that are going to be able to
AI
keep
might
you.
Actually help Ubisoft.
Yeah, the AI's like, after scanning all of your past games in the last 10 years, stop it.
Just stop.
It's like, okay. Yeah, it's just crazy, and it's wild to think of how advanced it is, and it's only going to get crazier. But it's gonna. I do think that handmade stuff with like a human touch is going to become like a really big thing. Oddly enough, people might actually like commission a small development team to make their dream game only for them. So it's like, I had this idea where I wanted this kind of game and I thought it'd be super cool based off of these parameters, and then teams like, hey, we'll hire us and we'll build that for you for $70,000, and you're just like, cool. And then you finance it, and then you have your own game that no one else can play. And
that makes
it's weird, but
giant dickhead.
Yeah, but I mean, the weird part is it's kind of like buying a portrait of yourself, right, from like a famous painter. It's like, why would anybody else want a portrait of you? It's weird enough that you're buying a portrait of you. You're like, I'm going to put it over my fireplace so I can smoke cigars under it and count my money next to my blood.
God, I'm magnificent.
Yeah, I'm so great. Look at me and my
you
my
magnificent bastard, you.
Yeah, God, I guess.
Yeah. Normally people have TVs in their living room, but I have a mirror because why would I want to see anything else? Jesus, dude. But that might happen. People might, smoke a cigar under their portrait.
All right.
I mean, would actual game developers make good journalists? Game journalists?
Would a game developer be a good Well, they might be salty to the company that fired them, but
And here's the answer to that question. Anyone make a good games journalist. Pretty much anyone that has more than 2 hours in any video game probably would make a better games journalist.
Especially the 4 people in this call.
Yeah. Unironically, it's like we all have our own opinions. Your own opinions aren't better than anyone else's. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm in the camp. Like I've played, because like my hours in video games, if I could tally them up, like let's just say I don't know, I have 1 million hours of video games. Probably not that, but it's just like my knowledge of video games are probably going to be greater than the person's who only has like 20 hours of playing GTA Online. I'm sorry, like I probably know more about video games than you, and therefore my opinion's probably better than yours is.
It's not like a slight or anything, but like the amount of hours I've poured across the industry, like games over the
I don't
years.
trust Mr. Guy who can't play Cuphead to tell me what Cuphead's like.
Oh, exactly. The notorious, that bullshit. But it's like, we've been playing games collectively for like over, if you were to combine all of our shit, it's definitely over like 100 years of, I feel like.
A couple lifetimes worth.
Yeah. I mean, the library that I'm just standing around right now, it's like I've played more games I've spent more hours on games than people have gotten like their journalist degrees.
By the way, that goes for all you people at home, by the way. You probably have a better idea of what fucking video games are than 90% of the journalists or any other people out there. That's why I say, just watch gameplay. Make your own opinions. You can draw conclusions. Yeah. Don't let them tell you what to do. I guarantee you probably have a better opinion than most of them do.
Oddly enough, just don't let other people tell you how to have fun.
Yeah. Or find the small group of people, us, that you might want to trust with gaming opinions, like I do.
Subscribing to their YouTube channel and stuff.
Just do that. There you go. I love it.
I have a very small group of YouTubers that I genuinely trust their gaming opinions because they typically line up with my own, and I know what kind of experience they've had with video games. So it's like, if they think something, I'm still going to check it out myself, but it's like, they're like what they say about. I'm like, oh, I could probably expect this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like just no one's paying you for your opinion. So all you got left is your own honesty. So trust in that.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get into our 3 trivia questions, 4 multiple choice answers. Number 1, so this is just a heads up. If I butcher these names, just I'm sorry. Okay, so number 1, in Baldur's Gate 3, which character is a direct descendant of the Archdevil Zerial, making them a key figure in the game's hell-based storyline? Is it A, Astarion, B, Shadowheart, C, Karlach, or D, Gale?
Well, thanks for ruining something. It's Karlach. I didn't know that. I haven't gotten to that point in the game yet, and that's a tiefling. They're from the Hells, so if I'm wrong about that, I'm going to be very surprised.
Just because I only have ever heard of Shadowheart, but I don't think she has anything to do with it. But
Thank you for that. I now know it's the spoilers.
Swoop.
This will be we're going to ruin this for you.
I can't believe we didn't think about that. These questions could lead to spoilers for some of us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the only one here.
Udon wins.
Udon wins. We'll give it to you.
Yeah. All right.
What was the answer? I don't know.
At least you were correct after we got done talking about how much we know about video games.
Now this one is on Edwin, unfortunately. In the recent Resident
I'm
Evil,
going to ruin something for you.
in the recent Resident Evil 4 remake, what specific Easter egg involving a bird can be found near the village square if the player interacts in a certain way? Is it A golden egg that kills any boss in one hit? Is it B, a crow that drops the original game's key item, the beer stein? C, a hidden raven that grants infinite ammo when shot? Or D, a rare white chicken that lays a red herb?
I want to say the beer stein. Because I remember the first thing I did when you play the original Resident Evil 4 is you shoot the bird and it drops like ammo.
Wait,
because that's funny.
Wait, what was the question again? Was it the original or the remake?
It's a remake.
Remake? I'm gonna go with A. If you throw 2 gold eggs at Salazar, like in his mouth, he dies in 2 golden egg hits because he's allergic to eggs. Is that correct?
It was A golden egg that kills
any boss
in
serious?
one hit.
I thought that was the meme answer.
No, it's like a side quest where you throw an egg at his portrait. It was like it's an Easter egg that if you throw 2 golden eggs, one to stun him and one to instantly kill him during his boss fight, he instantly dies no matter what. No matter what difficulty.
Sell the eggs?
No, but the golden egg is very rare for any of the chickens to lay, but you get like a few of them automatically, but you can't use them because those are the only guaranteed ones you're going to get. The rest are like a percentage chance to be laid because there's the white, the brown, and the gold.
Nice.
All right, question number 3. In Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, what is the name of the secret ending that requires the player to align with a specific faction's belief throughout multiple playthroughs? Is it A, the Liberation Protocol, B, the Fires of Raven, C, the Alia Lacta Est, or D, the Choral Release?
Oh, fuck. Choral Release, I think? I mean, there's 3 different endings. I don't remember which one's which.
Anyone else?
I've never played it because I'm not a masochist.
Corey, you played, didn't you?
What was the Raven one? Yeah, I haven't finished it though, but I want to say because the choral stuff is what you're going after or whatever. But I want to say like the Raven thing, just because the Raven is like part of the franchise in general.
I know how they end. I just don't know what they're called.
The answer was D, the Choral Release.
Choral Release, really? I figured that was like the main thing you were doing.
So there's like that. So you have, your 2 helpers. So it's like if you help both of them, then you get a 3rd one. But it's like everyone wants something different. But every time you replay the game opens up more. So going back to like the gated thing, that's pretty much what happens. Like the more you play the game, the more things open up to you.
Nice.
And before we close out with this, because that was our last one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we close out, I want to do something fun because I realized on the last episode I said I was going to open one of the Pokemon card packs I had, and I never actually did. We closed out an episode and I didn't do it. So I have 2 packs on the app that I can open. So let's open them together, shall we? As a group, what are we going to open? We want to open a Mewtwo, a Pikachu, or a Charizard pack?
Mewtwo.
Pikachu.
I love Mewtwo.
Mewtwo? Okay, we're going to open
I've been
Mewtwo
opening
pack.
Mewtwo's all fucking month.
I've been going. I switched to Pikachu since I got my Gardevoir finally on Mewtwo.
Mine won't be ready for 18 minutes.
I got 2 because I'm a shill and I'm paying extra for an extra pack a day. All right, let's see what we got because we'll get to open 2 of them. All right, the Mewtwo we have a Marowak, Eradicate, and Clobopus, a Sizzlepede, and a Zentascorch. Oh, it's a Sizzlepede and a Zentascorch all in one. Unfortunately, I believe I have all of those. I think. All right.
Whack.
Yep, I have all of those. All right. Do you want to do another Mewtwo or do you want to do a different one?
Try a different one.
All right, Pikachu or Charizard?
Let's do Charizard.
Charizard.
It's getting hot here.
All right, let's see. I'll just pick the first one right here. Rip. There we go. Ooh, it's sparkly. Oddish, Meowth, Meltan, Starmie, and Charizard EX. Look at that. That's a pretty
Nice.
one.
Oh, wow.
Is that a new one?
Which
Oh,
one?
I think it's a fly. Oh, it's the fly through art one. Ooh, that's a good one.
Damn,
That's cool looking. Hey,
I got the,
Corey,
I
you
got
can
the
wonder
gold
pick
one.
me. Oh, Edwin, if you should friend me, you might be able to wonder pick it. Oh yeah, he's like fighting. Oh, this is a huge one. There's like a giant Pokemon battle going on in his artwork. Holy shit! Like Charizard, Dragonite, Gyarados, they're all like fucking killing each other. That's cool looking.
I got the peaceful Pikachu, like swirly one, full art one.
Make peace.
And Psyduck's running away in the foreground because he's terrified.
Fuck this.
Oh, that's a cool one. I'll have to take a screenshot of that. That was a good one. All right, we got some podcast luck on that one. That was cool. That was one of the really rare ones.
All right. Well, I guess we'll be wrapping it up. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube channel to be notified of new episodes. Rate us 5 stars if you enjoyed today's episode. And don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. And for all you gamers out there, just remember to keep exploring, keep playing, and keep listening. Until next time, this is the Mediocre Rumble Brothers podcast signing off. Thanks for listening.
Hey, this is Corey, and thanks for checking out Mediocre Rumble Brothers. If you liked the video, please drop a like, and if you didn't, that's fine too. If you'd like us to talk about any specific games, drop a comment below, or feel free to discuss your experience with the games that we mentioned in the episode. You can also listen to our episodes prior to YouTube on our Spotify. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.